Sound check 1 2 1 2. Sound check 1 2 1 2. That's right, we're back. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. I'm your host, SR, founder of the SR51 Media Empire, the 51 Dynasties community, and the Green Load Screen Podcast. This is episode 2 of the Green Load Screen Podcast. This show covers gaming-related topics, as well as arts and entertainment, and every now and again I have some comments on sports. I hope you're having a great day today. I hope you're having a great day today. Hold on 1 second. Got a text message. Okay. Text messages already. We 5 seconds into the show. I hope you're having a good day today. If you're not, hopefully it turns around for you. We're going to be getting into the topics right off the bat. I am going to take a second and just make everybody aware of, in case you don't know, what this show is, what it covers, and how often it will be. This show covers Xbox-related topics. I am an Xbox gamer and content creator and all-around team member, I guess you would call, fan, or whatever you want to call it, bot. I guess I got to finally accept that, right, of Xbox. At the same time, I do not own a Nintendo console. I do not own a PlayStation console. So I will not be giving out any sort of news unless it relates to Xbox or gaming. I won't be giving out any of their news. Their what do you call it? Their what's the name of that thing? Their information, updates, anything like that. As I feel that basically that is best left up to people that are PlayStation gamers and people that are Nintendo gamers and people that are mobile gamers. I feel like, Xbox should talk about Xbox, PlayStation should talk about PlayStation, Nintendo and mobile, and so on and so forth. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank everybody for stopping past. Even if you stop past for just a moment and you feel as though you want to watch the show back on playback, I greatly appreciate that. I would also encourage you to not only watch the show back and playback right now, but watch some other game streams as well. There's great content on the channel, and there's more to come. First off, let me bring the volume down a little bit. It seems to be hitting the red. Never want to be in the red. Let's try it again. Okay, yeah, that should work. Want it to be loud, but not too loud. Let me also make sure there's no background. 1 second. Okay, so, we still hitting the red. Hold on now. Let's bring it down a little bit more. I just slipped there on the fingers. Okay, let's try it again. Testing. Okay. We close. All right. So, as I said, this show will be updated at least weekly. Just to speak to my schedule a little bit before we jump into the topics, I have, thank the Lord, been awarded a little bit more time off from things that I have to do. I'm going to have some more time for more game streams. I'm going to have more time for more podcasting. I'm going to have more time to create more content, more write-ups and things like that. So stay close to the SR51 Media Empire. If you have not already, join the community over here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing. Drop a heart if you can. 1 second. A heart, excuse me. Drop a like if you can on the podcast. That'd be greatly appreciated. It shows YouTube that it is interesting and people like listening to it. Be sure to go on over to TikTok at SR51 Media. The same logo that you see at the bottom left-hand corner is the same logo that is present on TikTok over there. That's where I do my live streams. VODs, which are videos on demand, will be available here on YouTube. I am looking to start downloading all I am looking to start downloading all previous streams and putting them up on YouTube, as you guys have something, guys and gals and people have something to watch there. At the same time, I am also active on X. I am a blue check mark over there. Same logo that you see at the bottom left hand corner is the same logo you will see over there on X, so you're talking to me directly. Outside of that, I am also present on Instagram, same logo. And we also have a Discord server. I will be getting more into, and we're still hitting the red. Bring it down some more. I will be getting more into the Discord server and different roles and things that I'm looking for a little bit later. Oh, dropped my phone. I will be getting into, 1 second here. Got to get a little bit more comfortable. It's not hot today, but get a little bit more comfortable. That's the benefit you have when you got the cam on. So yeah, I will be getting a little bit more into a little bit later about, what I'm looking for the roles in the server and roles on the channel and things like that. So yeah, I'll let you know a little bit later as the show goes on. But the first topic, why I'm still loving Ubisoft's franchise of games. Okay, so if you haven't already, be sure to check out the official Empire website up there, www.sr51media.com. Over there you can find write-ups. I'm going to be putting up some gameplay. I'm also going to be putting the podcast over there in its own channel. I'm going to be looking to get that done sometime today. And yeah, at the same time, basically, that is always updated. I try to update it as often as possible with new write-ups for gaming-related topics, as well as arts and entertainment. Sports is a little bit different. I don't typically get into full-fledged write-ups for sports, but I could see comments about certain sports titles and things like that being brought up, as long as it, ties into gaming somehow. At the same time, I am also going to be keeping the podcast live there. So anyone that wants to, listen there or maybe they're like, hey, I'm on the website already reading the write-up. I want to listen to the podcast here. I don't want to go over to YouTube. You will have that option. And it is, of course, safe. One of the things that I made sure when I built the website was that it was very much safe for everyone. Not looking to steal your information or steal your, or charge you anything to read a article. I understand some, websites have to do that, but I recently took down all ads from the website, so you can feel free to scroll, read, watch, and not have to click through an ad. So I hope you enjoy it. So yeah, one of the things that I wanted to bring up was the fact that I wrote a article write-up on the Ubisoft Plus program. The Ubisoft Plus program, in a nutshell, I would advise you to also, read the article to get a full write-up of it. But the Ubisoft Plus program is a subscription service that gives me access to all Ubisoft games day one, the biggest editions. Currently myself, I am currently in the middle of Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resyndicate. Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. I think I'm about 10 hours into that. At the same time, it is a playthrough again, as I have beat the game already previously. There are some things that completely feel great about it, There's nothing too bad I can really say about it myself. I feel like the graphics are great. The story is great. I mean, the game was great when it first came out. So, I'm also in the middle of Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think that's a great game. I myself feel as though that, how can I say this in a politely correct way? Um, Sometimes when you do things different than they're normally done, they can be seen as controversial. And as far as I know, Yasuke and was a actual real life character in that history time. Um, it's a well known fact by historians that have said he was a African slave, and then history reports him of having a house as well as armor, a horse, and a sword. And from what I know, from what I read, they said you don't have any of those things in that time period unless you're a samurai, because people didn't have those things. It's kind of like what was given to samurais. I think it's a great game. I do currently have a tattoo from it. One of my favorite Assassin's Creed games. Another favorite of mine is Origins. I feel like I'm myself personally, I'm a very big Egypt guy. I'm very, very much love the whole, Egypt history line, and, everything that comes along with it, the lifestyles, the religions, things like that. At the same time, I also do like Odyssey. I don't know if there's anything I really missed there on Odyssey. When it comes to the Greek one. I know there's probably a little bit of DLC that I didn't wrap up, but nothing really major. Whereas Origins, I know there was like a little bit of some story elements that I have to double back on, and of course I didn't complete the DLC and stuff. And also as far as outfits and things like that go, there's outfits that I didn't get a chance to kind of suit up on, and treasure chests and treasure hunts and things that I want to go back on. So that's enough value in and of itself. But then on top of that, another game that I currently hold a tattoo from is the Division 2. I'm a big fan of the Division, have been since day one. I played and bought the Division 1 the second I saw the reveal trailer on, I forget which game event it was, but I know there was like a game event where the guy closed a door. He was in the prone position, is when you're like you're kind of like crouched down, and he was walking, and he closed the door while holding his gun or rifle. I forget which one he had in his hand. I think it was a rifle, an assault rifle, and he closed the door with his left hand, and the enemies heard him, and then he opened fire, and then the action scene took off. And it really showed me, dynamics. This was years ago, with the Division 1. It really showed me dynamics of the game that wasn't really being matched, in my opinion, by anybody. It still isn't, to be honest, in some games. Outside of that, I have completed Watch Dogs 1 a long time ago. I did not complete Watch Dogs 2 or 3. To be honest with Watch Dogs 2, if I remember correctly, I had to break into some sort of government facility, and I got in there, but then it was something where it was like it was kind of like something where it was like sneak your way in there, and then I got in there down, because it's a computer kind of hackery game. I got in there and I downloaded the files and everything, and then they said something along the lines of like sneak your way out. And I was like, come on, man. Like I just climbed 4 floors to get in here. There's hella agents. It kept failing. It's kind of the disconnect I have with that I had with Splinter Cell back in the day, where the alarms keep going off and you fail the mission. It's weird because, don't get me wrong, in like an Assassin's Creed game, it's somewhat of a stealth game as well, where you have to kind of like, sneak around, but you can go, guns ablazing. Like in Assassin's Creed, to speak on it, not just Black Flag, but Assassin's Creed, really all of them. You can be told, hey, assassinate, this assassinate this character over here, and basically, you get halfway through the mission and somebody sees you and you're like, well, I will. Looks like it's me versus 30 people, and you don't fail the mission unless you die. Whereas in Watch Dogs, it was a lot of like sneak here, sneak there. He had this little ball thing that he was swinging around hitting people, and myself personally, I just felt like it was a little too much on the it was a little too much on the stealth category of things. for my taste. And then with Watch Dogs 3, I never really got into it. Not saying I won't, but I never really got into it because of the fact that it was something where the characters that you build, if they die forever. And I was like, okay. So I'd be curious to see where the next Watchdog goes. But, one was my favorite. Um, that was a very intense action based story. Two was good. I once I get a little bit more time on my hands, I do plan on checking out two a little bit more. Uh, Let me see anything else. Oh, the Crew Motorfest, loving it. And this may sound a little shocking. I feel myself that for me, the Crew Motorfest is the better game over Forza, and I know a lot of people, and I would say that as far as Clutch too. I know a lot of people maybe would be shocked to hear that, because of the fact that being an Xbox guy and content creator and streamer and stuff, most people would say, well, all of you guys love nothing but Forza, and not necessarily me. I think it's a great I think Forza is a great franchise. I think it has some of the best graphics in the business. Very realistic in simulation, and things like that. But myself personally, I'm looking for more closer to the um personally myself, I'm looking for more closer to the Need for Speed kind of feel. Nitrous, hot cars, great environment, something where you can turn and burn and things like that. And I wasn't really getting that from Forza. Forza was giving me a lot of like, slide into a wall, lose the race, or rewind from crashing your car and you fall to 12th place. And that after a while stopped being fun to me, to be honest. Uh at the same time, I also, love the Crew Motorfest, because I've been to Hawaii myself several times. Love the place, love the food. Hell, I eat it up here even when I'm not in Hawaii. My wife being Samoan and everything like that. Uh, I've had a very good amount of time to absorb the culture, and at the same time, it being located in Hawaii is great. Uh, it doesn't play too heavy to one category. I feel that Forza plays very much to one category, especially this new one. I feel like it plays a lot to, like, in my opinion, it plays a lot to drifting, and I understand a lot of people like that. I understand that that's their form of racing. Hold on one second. Um, I feel that Forza was very drifty in my opinion, which is understandable. It's set in, I think, Japan there and stuff, where it's Tokyo Drift and things like that. But myself personally, when I think of racing, I think more of drag racing, in end, or time trials, or circuit racing, or even speed traps, things like that. I'm cool with, but the whole like slide around a corner and hold it for 5 seconds, then ease up and then slide around a corner. I never, especially in like a race format, I never was a fan of that. And I knew going into this Forza, it was gonna, be in present. I was hoping that it wouldn't be, exactly like, basically I was hoping that it wouldn't be, completely the whole game, and it turned out to be that way. Um, like I said, with my Ubisoft Plus membership, I do get the Crew Motorfest, the biggest version that I could possibly get from it. So that opened up another level of enjoyment with me with the game. On top of that, I would also say, yeah, those are the games that made me. The thing I understand is I was playing these games before I got the membership, but it only enhanced it knowing that, hey, I get discounts on credits. I get first dibs on games, even though most of them I might buy. But it you get into things like betas and things like that. So it's a great service. But to also speak to Ubisoft as a standpoint, I think that they catch a lot of heat from most people that this game isn't good or that game. If I was to be honest, oh, and also I forgot about Ghost Recon. I played Ghost Recon Wildlands, completed it. And to put something out here, my Xbox gamer tag is the same as the name you see right there. SR51 Media. It is open to the public. I do that because I feel as though that if someone was coming to this podcast or really listen to it playback or anything like that, I would want to be able to be verified. I would want somebody to be like, well, I don't believe him. When he says he beat Wildlands, you can go to my profile, see that I beat it, and not in a speed run standpoint. Like I actually went boss to boss without ruining the game for you, because some people may actually play it for the first time. I actually went, boss to boss and beat everybody and their minions, and then made my way to the end. And it was an incredible run. One of the best games I've ever played in a let's say me and 3 or 4 NPC standpoint. I think it was an amazing game. Um, I'm really eager to play the next Ghost Recon. I plan on day oneing it as soon as it's available, even though I would get it from the service. Um, yeah. So those franchises to me are what make Ubisoft great, in my opinion. If you have not checked them out, I would advise advise you to check them out. And, just to say something also going forward, not all the time am I going to feel that the best game available is an Xbox Studio. Okay. I'm a little bit different when it comes to things like that. I feel that people should give their honest gamer opinion. Shouldn't, I mean, don't get me wrong, you're gonna have your, let's say, platforms of choice and things like that. But um I feel that you're gonna have your platform of choice that you feel as though, hey, this is the one I choose over others, and that's respectable. But I think that, to be honest, it should be more of like a, how can I put it? It should be more of a like, um, you like a game for reasons that are explainable, not just, okay, the game came out on the platform that you own. Because if I, okay, hold on 1 second, because I keep game streams of other content creators open while I'm streaming, and I flipped into this one, and this person seems to be running around in circles. Uh, yeah. So what happened was, I feel as though like you're gonna see that about me a lot, where I'm not gonna say, okay, just because sometimes it's that way, sometimes it's not, but I'm not gonna say, okay, this game is the best because Xbox made it, or this game is the best because of the fact that Xbox happened to partner with them, or bought their studio or something like that. If I don't like the game, and I feel as though there's a better game out there, I feel as though I hold an obligation as a gamer, a content creator, and a podcaster to tell you the truth. You know, I wouldn't want somebody to tell me, "Hey, a game's and credible or something," and basically the game is average. And they're just saying that because they want to score points with a platform or a studio. Like, my hours into Ubisoft games can be verified. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong here, but I know on the original Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I gotta have about over 50, close to 100 hours. And I think on every Assassin's Creed except for Mirage and what else? Mirage mainly, I should have at least close to 50 to 100 hours. Same thing with Ghost Recon. I did not like Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Doesn't I'll keep it honest with that too. I felt like Breakpoint was not the game to bring out after Wildlands, because Wildlands was a very NPC heavy game. Something where basically it was you and 3 other commandos in a sense. And they put me in a situation where it was like me, there was nowhere to rest on the map. Like it kind of felt like no matter where you went, you got attacked. Um, they had things like drones that would fly overhead. That if they saw you, four bosses would basically hit the ground and chase you and things. And it was kind of that one man army thing that they wanted to go with that I don't think fit with the Ghost Recon world. I think that fits more with like a division thing. So myself personally, I just felt like it wasn't a, not say it wasn't a good game. I mean, the graphics were great, story was great. Some of the characters they had involved with the game was good, but I just think it was poor execution for the series. I think that the next Ghost Recon, I forget where it's supposed to be, but supposedly it's supposed to play like the original Ghost Recon. Um, the Ghost Recon Wildlands I mentioned. I'm pretty sure the map is going to be 2 times the size of what it is now, which would be incredible because the original map was just huge. And I mean, that's another great thing about Ubisoft that they do. Like, most of their games come with very extensive maps and very in depth customization and environments and things you can do and stuff. I think that's kind of missing from a lot of games nowadays, where basically, you know, it's an on rail story. There's no real deep customization except for skins or the occasional skin that you can buy. The story is basic, the type of thing where it's like not really that in depth and stuff. So, those are just a couple things I wanted to lay out there about, what makes me feel as though not only why I'm still loving Ubisoft games, but why I feel as though, in my opinion, Ubisoft is one of the greatest franchises to ever be created. Um, I understand they are in a different sort of management right now with the whole thing. That does not play into any factor to me. As long as they keep pumping out games like Assassin's Creed, Tom Clancy's The Division 3, which I'm pretty sure is coming eventually. It's kind of like with Tom Clancy's Division 3, it's kind of like the new Dragon Ball Z game where, Xenoverse has been out for so long that I saw a quote one time, not even just a quote, I saw a couple people saying that for a long time where they were like, stop playing Xenoverse 2. If you don't stop playing Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse 2, we're never gonna get a new Xenoverse. And I'm like, that has got to be the most backwards damn thing I've ever heard of in my life. Because if you think about it, if a game has a high play rate, right, typically they're going to give you another game because they're like, look at how many people are still playing the game, right? Like when you look at Assassin's Creed, right? They said with Shadows, they were like, "Oh, we felt like the story disconnected a little bit with people." I'm not one that gets a lot into um ethnicity in certain things. I mean, I am proudly learned about my history and grew up a African American male myself. Born in Philly, mama from West, daddy from North. Spent time in Jersey, wife got New York connections and things like that. But I live in the greater Northwest now. Loving it and everything. But, being an African American male, I understand that sometimes when you insert that into a game, especially into certain games, like a samurai game, that it can disconnect with people. For myself personally, I love the fact that they are willing to shed the light on every ethnicity around the sun. They don't say, okay, well, we're gonna, without tagging. I mean, I can say it too. I don't agree with something like this whole Lord of the Rings thing, where the whole movie is an all white cast so far and stuff. Because I think we shouldn't do that when it comes to fantasy, even if it is history. Because from what I can tell, there's no actual time in history where every ethnicity did not merge with each other in some capacity, or even if it was slavery, like it's in there in everybody's history where we've either bumped into each other, or we've traded goods with each other, or we've lived with each other or mixed with each other, family wise or marriage wise or whatever you want to call it. So when you get things like that, it doesn't make me dislike a franchise. I will not be watching the movie. Um, I also will not be playing the game. But I will. I like I said, my experience that I love is to kind of wrap, put a bow on that in a way. My experience that I love from the whole Lord of the Rings thing is the original movies. The one with Gandalf and all that sort of stuff, the original Lord of the Rings, and also Hobbit. I think that was his name, the Hobbit movie. I like that, and I also like the TV show Lord Rings of Power. Very big fan of that. So, but with with Ubisoft games, like when you think of like Assassin's Creed, they've touched down on so many different nationalities that I feel like it's something for everybody, kind of like the buffet style, where if you technically want to call Ezio your classic young Caucasian male, he was in the first I think three there, and then I'm pretty sure Assassin's Creed Revelations, if that was the name of it, the Native American one was set in early American history where it was based around a Native American man. Then you had well, I may go off chart as far as which one came next, but then I know you had Black Flag, right, which tells the story of Edward Kenway, who is a very poor um guy that wants to, without ruining the story for you, wants to make a name for himself and ends up becoming a pirate. But his deckhand, his quartermaster, his first in command there, is a former slave. And there are aspects in the game, without ruining it for you, where you can liberate not just African American slaves, but at that time, most people don't understand that pirates were made to be slaves or brutally murdered because they were pirates. And at the same time, that plays into the game. I'm pretty sure there's also some DLC there. I think it's called Freedom Cry, where the quartermaster goes off into his own journey. I don't think it was I don't want to say I don't think it was a full on game, but I never played that part because at that time Ubisoft games were coming out like hotcakes, right? So you kind of would beat one and then you would beat that game and then basically say, okay, I'm just gonna wait it out for the next Ubisoft game, and because it's like a movie, like you have like a great experience and they'd be like, oh, did you stay and watch the credits, and did you stay to watch the after credits, and you're like, no, I got up and left. Like the movie was incredible. I saw everything I needed to see, you know. So I probably will at some point go back and check out Freedom Cry, but that aspect of telling the story also, I think without ruining it for you, there is, I think her name is James Kidd or something like that. It's basically like a pirate that you can tell, because at that time most people would tell you pirates did not allow women on ships because it was considered to be unlucky. From what I know, it's from what I've been taught history wise here, they consider women on ships to be considered unlucky, and I mean I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been that safe, for a woman on a ship, with 30 guys out in the ocean for months on end and stuff like that. But at the same time, she is a part of the game in some capacity. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but you can tell that's a woman. Does Edward tell that's a woman? Possibly. I think he does have kind of an inkling here that James Kidd, or how her name is a woman pirate. But they don't really mention it. They don't really get into it. But it's good to see. Um, and then, like I said, they have other people in there, the Spanish Armada, England people, Templars, Knights Templars. They play a very big part in most Assassin's Creed games, where it's like a kind of like a, how can I put it? Kind of like a, I don't want to say villain, but like that kind of secret society that everybody's trying to fight against in that history element and things. They're trying to control things, and you're trying to free things. So you kind of have a background with them and stuff. And I'm also pretty sure there's people like Blackbeard in there, John. And then also um they dive into different things in Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, and they also did it in the original Assassin's Creed. So it's not something where a lot of people feel like we're in a woke culture. I'm like, no, it's just called inclusion. Inclusion is inclusion, and I love inclusion in games myself. Like as you can see, established in '86, I mean, I put that terminology out there because of the fact that as far back as I can remember, once I could hold a video game, I played video games, and nothing against it because that's just the era it was at that time. But most games, in the 80s were mainly Caucasian. The main character was Caucasian. The woman, really, if there was ever a woman, you know, the main character was Caucasian. There was no way to customize your face or, back then there was no like, change your hair, change your skin tone, all that crap. It was like you played as this character or you did not play this game. So, to be in the world that we're in now where there's so much inclusion, like I learned it's great to be able to like experience other people's cultures is how I bang. Like I love the fact that I can experience the, pirate era culture as a, you know, I want to say, I don't know what ethnicity Edward is. I go with pirate, because pirates really encompass everybody. There's not really a specific, even though without ruining the story for you, there is a moment there where they kind of like, not to say racism, but there is a moment there where they're like, do you trust him? And I'm like, why? Because he's black, and they're, and in a way they kind of make it clear that basically, yeah, like like you trust him, like without ruining it for you, like story wise, there is one pirate that when you introduce your quartermaster to him, he's like, "Do you trust him with a gun? You trust him with a gun?" And I'm like, "What the hell?" But that was that time, that's how it worked and stuff like that. But I love that he plays a part in the game. He's a good companion and stuff like that. He has lines. It's not just a whole standing there while you sail the ship and stuff. At the same time, beyond that, there was Assassin's Creed Origins, which told the story of I want to say Bayek, I think was his name. I forget the names of the exact cat. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. My knee. Give me one moment. Ah. Old caps there. Had to get up on the old caps. I'm pretty sure his name, I think his name was Bayek, right? Was the main protagonist in that game. Um and as we all know, I mean, basically Egypt's in Africa. So, Egyptian people, I look, I myself just go off of what is given to me as a content creator, a gamer. If it's said wrong or put out there wrong, I apologize for that. If there's, something you maybe want to tweet at me or put in the comments, hey, this is different. We look at it differently. That's one thing. But I always go by the ethnicity being located in the country itself. And Egypt, which was one of the richest continents in the world at one point, and technically, still has a lot of money now and rich history, was, an African American male. Well, I should say African American, African American, but a Egyptian African male. I I'm vague a little bit on story. I know that he does have a purpose. They always have a purpose as an assassin. There's never just. That's what I love about it. That it's not just the go over here, kill this guy, come back, kill this guy, kill. There's like a story. All of them connect in some way, and they explain like, you know, a reason of why you're doing it. It's not just okay, kill this guy to kill this guy, or kill this woman to kill this woman. It's like no, you need to take this guy out because of this, and then when you do that, the story gets further, and then there's always some sort of like well, not always, but there's typically always a very, yeah, I should say always, there's always a very deep customization, like how you start an Assassin's Creed game and how you get to the middle. By the time you get to the middle, if in my opinion, if you have not, even if you didn't buy like the ultimate edition or like skins or anything like that, if you have not changed your outfit 10 times, you have not played this game. you know, if you have not changed your outfit, your main weapon, your side weapon, your all of that 3 or 4 different times, you have not played this game. So a lot of times, that's what happens in something like Origins. Origins to me is another amazing game because it further tells the story of like Egypt, right? Which I'm a very big fan of. I also have that as a tattoo, the Assassin's Creed Origins logo, which is the all-seeing eye. Um, at the same time, I firmly believe in that. You know, a lot of things, myself, you know, being a God-fearing man and, you know, Christian and everything like that, is, you know, everybody falls short to glory. But basically, I do understand religions before there was a Christianity. You know, like I understand how at some point this is what the world believed. And I'm a very big fan of Egypt's take on certain things, you know, the all-seeing eye, Horus, Ra, things like that. Everything down to the jewelry, the lifestyle. I couldn't live in that damn heat though. I tell you, I'll tell you one thing, bro. It's hell. I suffer, man. I suffer over here in Washington. I'll be like, thank God for the rain, cause like I suffer over here when it's 90 degrees. So I can only imagine when you see the way these people dressed. It had to be like $110 every day, you know. And you ain't got no air conditioners. You ain't. You see what I'm saying? Ain't no air conditioners. Ain't no motorized fans. You know, to get water, you got to go to the daggone well somewhere or the river or whatever. You know, and then you know, oh my God, I couldn't have made it. But I do myself personally when it comes to like weaponry. Don't get me wrong, I love a good shooter. Like I said with the Division, big fan of that. But today or tomorrow, if someone was like, "Hey, you can only play with, you know, games that use one weapon, either gun or sword, forever," it would definitely be swords. I feel that that stage of the world was, I don't want to say more combative, but I feel like there was more skill involved in that standpoint. Which is, don't get me wrong, I understand this. You have to have a lot of skills nowadays to serve in military capacities, and I thank, you know, them for putting their life on the line, and the police and things like that. You know, it is not a lightweight thing to do, but I do feel as though that the difference between those games history and where we are today, like if you had to compare, say, any Assassin's Creed game that doesn't involve a gun, and even the guns they have are more like, you know, those they call them flintlocks, where it's like damn near a musket. You know, where you get like one shot and then you gotta like reload it, and then you get like another shot and you gotta like reload it, right? Whereas like now, you know, you have weaponry that puts out like what, like they got assault rifle, they got some handguns and assault rifles that put out like what, like 100 bullets in like 100 seconds or something. Whereas like back then, you had to learn how to swing a sword, you know, and it was a must, because if you didn't, you would die. You know, like somebody could just come past your farm and kill you, kill your family, you know. So you had to learn to swing a sword, you had to learn how to defend yourself, and you stood a chance, you know. Whereas it's different in most games now, I feel, you know, with with the weaponry like that, you know. So don't get me wrong, I love both of them, but I love one over another. Like I love swords over um gunnery games. But I love gunnery games too, but I mainly stick more to, especially Magic. Magic's, how can I say this, when, because I mean, there's not really a magic aspect to Assassin's Creeds, but if I'm thinking of are there Ubisoft games with magic? I'm pretty sure there are, but there's kind of like a power aspect, you know, not like a superpower thing, like you're not flying or nothing like that, but you do have like enhanced abilities that come from relics and things like that. I'm a big fan of that. Big fan of like swords and magic and fantasy and things like that, especially if you could tie it into real life somehow. And with Bayek, if that's his name correctly, there in Egypt one, he plays a big story through like the hieroglyphs and Ra and Horus and life and death and things like that. So I really like that aspect. Then we went on to what was it there? Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which was the Greek one. Big fan of you know, Greek history, not just the 300 Spartans, but Roman life. You know, cultivating the world and bringing civilization into the forefront and things like that. Myself personally, I pay attention to a lot of like their politics and how things were basically figured out at that time. You know, being like, okay, I can understand taking over a part of the world and then saying, let's keep going, you know, because that should be everybody in the world. I never, let me tell you something. I feel like success itself is subjective, meaning that my level of success and your level of success may be completely different, but success is still success one way or another. You could start, like, that's why I refer to my community as the 51 dynasties, have since the beginning, always will, unless I'm forced to change it, because I feel that everybody in the community is a dynasty. Whether you have one follower on your channel, whether you don't have a channel, whether you're, a supporter of other content creators, that's a dynasty. And I feel like we all come together to discuss and play some of the greatest games that come out, and arts and entertainment topics and things like that. So that's why I chose that name for my community. At the same time, it was an amazing game. I do plan on, once the memory thing I'll get into a little bit later is kind of limiting when it comes, which is wild, because you would think that with a terabyte you would be able to download everything. Yeah, not anymore. Because I remember, what, 6 maybe 7 years ago, a terabyte was like very big, whereas like I feel like a terabyte is a new 500 gigabyte. When you look at it, like, especially when you got like Call of Duty coming out at like 200 gigabytes, 100 gigabytes. No way that something like Grand Theft Auto is not like 100, at least 100 gigabytes. Madden is like 100 gigabytes. Same thing with college football, and every Assassin's Creed game is so large in scope that they're like a good 100 to 200 something gigabytes. So I'll be touching more on, how that dictates what I play and what I'm going to do about it. But at the same time, Odyssey was a great game. Told the story, without ruining it for you, of a. I'm pretty sure you, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure you had to choose who you run with, or I mean, at the same time, there was basically there was red and blue back then. Um, and there's a very great aspect to it that was not present in any other Assassin's Creed game, which I like to refer to as the war. And what that means is, on the map, you could be on the east side of the map and get a phone call, excuse me. You could be on the east side of the map and get, because it was more like a, I forget how they describe it. It was like an alert, right? Like a letter would be sent to you that, on the west side of the map, they get ready to go to war and they need help from anybody that's on their side. And you can, jump in your boat. I never really was a fan, and in most games like that, I'm not really a fan of fast traveling. I think that, to be honest, if you're on a map and you don't like the travel from one point to another, that's bad mechanics right there to me. I feel like some of the best parts of a game is accepting a story or a quest from the other side of the map and making your way over there with time, experiencing like the land, maybe, discovering some things you didn't discover on the way there. I feel like that's kind of what makes a great game, is like the in between, between the story that you're going to and all the little quests and crap that you find on the way there. But yeah, you could get a letter that says, hey, we need help on the west side of the western front. You're on the eastern front. You can climb on a boat. You can climb on a boat, or you can go horseback. Most places had like rivers that cut you off and stuff, but you could make your way across there, and it would be like basically like a gang fight. I'm also forgetting Syndicate, which I will double back on in a second. But you would it would basically be like a gang fight, basically. Like I want to say like maybe like about maybe 30 enemies per side, right? 2 or 3 bosses, and the objective was to kill the bosses, because everybody else would stand down or run. They would run away after the fact. Myself personally, loving a fight like that, and especially in games like that in a franchise that I loved, I would never really necessarily kill the boss right out the bat. Like I would fight for a good while, like a good 10-15 minutes, then be like, okay, now I'll take him out. I've been here for a while. I want to go back to what I was doing, story wise or whatever. But I felt like that was a great addition to the game that you rarely see in gaming. That's what I mean about why I love their franchises, because every game gives you something different that they haven't given you before, or improves on something they have given you. Um, yeah, the story was incredible. I'm not gonna ruin it for you. It does tell more than just um it tells more than just the killing side of things. It has a very that was one game where I would say it has a very family aspect to it. Not just the guys and girls that you're around, but there's a family part of that story that when you roll the credits on it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Whether you choose to be a woman or whether you choose to be a guy, which is also your choice. Speaking on a whole, not diverting from the Ubisoft topic, but speaking on the whole woman or man thing in games, I could care less about that. Like I said, as long as I am not forced to, you know, not live the story the same way, I really could care less. I grew up with great woman protagonists in games and in comics and in TV shows like Tomb Raider, Storm, Rogue, Supergirl, She-Hulk, who else am I not thinking of there? Phoenix, Jean Grey, who else? Catwoman, who was a badass in and of herself, and so on and so forth. So it doesn't really matter to me, if you're forced to play as a woman, as long as the story plays out well and she can defend herself, I don't really care. So in that aspect of I chose to be the guy because it was one of the first, and I'm glad I did because without ruining it for you, she plays a part in the game, and if you choose the guy, if you choose to be a woman, then the guy plays a part in the game. What you choose to do, I'm gonna leave up to you. But like I said, there's a very deep family aspect to it that I really fell in love with for Odyssey, and I enjoyed my time with it. And I will be going back to finish up DLCs that I didn't finish there. Then there's Syndicate. Syndicate was and then, like I said, with Odyssey, Odyssey was your Greek story. So you had, which is, um, not nothing against Giannis Antetokounmpo because I don't know Giannis Antetokounmpo, the center for the Heats now. I don't know his actual ethnicity. I know he's Greek, but I don't know like everything that makes him up and stuff like that because sometimes it gets kind of vague online. But at the same time, the character you were playing as, I'm pretty sure is Greek, and like I said, completely different ethnicity there, but great story all the way around. Um, then with Syndicate, Syndicate also tells the story of if I'm not mistaken, a brother and a sister, and it's more of like, how can I put it? It's more of like if you've ever seen a movie, which was one of my favorite movies, Gangs of New York, right? Or think Gangs of New York in England or Britain or wherever it was in Europe. I'm just gonna say Europe. Gangs of New York in Europe. Gangs of New York in Europe. Very great game. They actually had a pistol aspect to it. That you had backing from your gang that could help you out. You don't start off that way. Like you don't start off with like a whole gang or whatever. You have to kind of like build it up and go section by section and stuff like that, and challenge certain bosses in their areas and stuff. And they did have a pistol aspect to it, and I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, the pistol aspect to it. I mean, it wasn't like a full on semi-automatic like what we have in today's world now, but it was not as slow as Black Flag's pistol. So it wasn't like the flintlock where you pull the trigger, reload it, and all that. It was more like 4-5 shots and then you reload. So and they lent more to close quarters combat. There was a lot more like close quarters combat. They had gang fights as well, but the difference about it was instead of it being like 30 enemies on the map, it used to be like because without I don't want to do anything to ruin stories in games for people. Even I don't care how long ago the game came out. I try not to ruin stories in games for people because you never know when somebody's first game experience is gonna be in a game. Especially with things like Game Pass. Being an Xbox guy, I discover games sometimes where I'm like, dang, I didn't even play this. Like I haven't even finished the story in like Fallout 4, like Skyrim. So that's why I don't tend to listen to people that talk about the end of it or the middle of it or anything like that. So with Syndicate, they had more of like a close quarters combat. They had an amazing story where like some of the missions were like because at that time they had child labor, where it was like they would force children to do the job of adults, like working in a coal mine or or I'm just using a coal mine, but like a warehouse somewhere or something, and I would like climb through the skylight and then kill everybody in there basically and free the children, and then you took over that section of the map. They also had a train that runs through the map itself that you can board and chill on and ride and switch up characters if you want to be the sister for a while or if you want to be the brother for a while. They both could defend themselves. They both were very what you call it? They both were very good at defending themselves. Neither one of them felt like the type of like, okay, because you're playing as a woman, she's not as powerful, or because you're playing as a guy, he's OP or anything like that. They were both very balanced, and there was a very good story there. I'm not gonna ruin it for you how it ended, but very good story, played out well. I actually will be, because I deleted Syndicate to download something recently, but I will be putting that back on my handheld and my Xbox, mainly because of the fact that it's the perfect balance of when you want to live that kind of European, brother sister vibe of like, okay, you want to take over the town, but you necessarily don't want to be too far back in the past and things like that. So that's where Syndicate comes in, and then they do have a DLC that I want to get to eventually. I mean, I've already beaten the story, so I'm pretty sure I could just launch into the DLC. But I'm the type that like when I get into the game, like I'll like squirrel around a lot and stuff. So, but they do have a Jack the Ripper DLC where you go after him. I'm assuming for him popping up in Europe and stuff like that and causing havoc. So you go after him, and then there's other DLCs that I have to check out as well. Up from that was what? Up from Odyssey was Valhalla. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is for all you Viking fans. That's another reason why I feel like it's hard for me to get into what's the name of it there? To get into something like other Viking games because of how good Valhalla really is. Like you're actually given a boat that you can use to sail the seas and loot places and stuff. Like you literally get a young, I think it's called a Jomsviking, which is like your first mate and stuff. And what happens is you climb in a long boat, and it's you and maybe like I want to say roughly close to like maybe 20 other guys or women, depending on how you stock the ship. And you pull up on, typically they're like forts or like camps or churches or thing, not the church like the standard church with like a reverend and all that. Like this, I mean they have those, but they run away when you get there. It's more like the Knights of the Round Table type dudes, Templars, things like that. You pull up on it. Um, as soon as you pull up on it, they will sound an alarm, because at that time, Vikings were big raiders and stuff. And you fight your way through section by section. They had aspects where there's like a 3 level to it. Like you would kick your way through the first door, fight in the courtyard, and then your NPC teammates fight with you. So, and it's not that weird kind of fighting. Like you have those NPCs where they basically like don't really contribute anything to the combat. Like they actually will take down people, and if they get downed, you can pick them back up. So they don't. It's not one of those things where like if within like 10 minutes everybody's dead type thing. Like everybody actually plays like a part. So what happens is, yeah, you get your Vikings, you get your long ship, and you raid. There's a very deep story there of Vikings trying to find their way in Europe at that time and what their place is going to be. Um, and yeah, at the same time, great game. I have not actually finished the story in Valhalla, as I found that it started to be very different. And then if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember, there was something that came out around that time that kind of took my attention away. I know I have at least like 50, maybe close to 100 hours in it, but I didn't finish the story. That is also going to be downloaded again once I deal with the whole memory thing and stuff. And then we get currently into Shadows, which I think is like I said, got the tattoo from Shadows. I think it's an amazing game, in my opinion. It tells the story of Yasuke and Yahweh. I forget her name right off the bat, but basically, there's a small. They said that she's the smallest assassin to ever be in an assassin's game. She's very nimble. She's very quick. She is the type that can like literally sneak her way into like a feudal Japan kind of samurai castle, take a guy out and get out before anybody's really know she's there. Right? She's so fast that you really can't catch her type thing. Yasuke, the African slave that became a samurai and stuff, he's more of your big man. He's your standard because you know how you have those, because typically in most Assassin's Creed games there is a classification of enemies. There's every game has that. The standard little knock 'em off enemies, the mid level ones that are kind of a little tough if you don't deal with them right, and then a big guy who, if he attacks you with a bunch of little guys, you're basically dead. So the big guy typically can kill Yahweh. If I'm having her name there wrong, I forget. So many Assassin's Creed characters. But she can take down a big guy. It's just harder because they go by armor. So it's kind of like it takes her harder to fight them. Whereas Yasuke is more of like over 6 foot type thing. Able to drop kick people, kick down doors, run through doors. So he's more better that way. But his disadvantage is he cannot sneak like her. So like most of the time with her, you can kind of like come at the mission like, okay, I'm gonna maybe sneak around, take this guy out, and get out of there without taking everybody on. Whereas with him, you basically literally run through the front door and it's banging time. How my man says, clobbering time. It's Vader time around this piece, and you take on everybody and stuff. But he can really like defend himself and stuff. So it makes it very good as a story. So I wanted to touch on that, when it comes to Ubisoft games, because I feel like a lot of times they catch a bad rap. I think a lot of people that actually don't play the games, because don't get me wrong, I'm not going to tell you you're playing a game wrong, but if I had any advice when you jump into a Ubisoft game, Assassin's Creed mainly type game, I would say pick one that you like and play everything. Like, if you don't like a mission, don't play it. The story you have to play, but like if there's like side missions and quests or something that you want to play it. Don't look to just hammer down the story, because I think it's understandable. Some people only have, 50, 70 hours in the game, and they're like, well, I rolled the credits or I finished it. And I'm like, yeah, you did, but you didn't really live in that game. Like I'm currently still living in like Shadows, Black Flag, Syndicate, and Origins, right? Like 4 of them, and Valhalla, right? I'm living in like 4 or 5 Assassin's Creed, because sometimes you feel that way. Some days it's, oh, I want to play a Viking game. Oh, I want to play a samurai game. Oh, I want to play an Egypt game. Oh, I want to play a European game. Oh, I want to play a pirate game. I'm not the type. I know some people feel like it's a blasphemy, to play multiple games at the same time. I don't. I kind of look at gaming. Like I said, I live a blessed life, was brought up that way where, I had multiple games and things like that. So I never really had to play like just one game. And after like, you get old enough to where you can be responsible with them, like when you're like a toddler and all that, you don't need like 800 games or whatever. But like once you get like a little bit older, like middle school and stuff like that, when you have like multiple games, you play a little of this, play a little of that, play a little of this. I was never really one that was like, I'm just going to play just one game. Even sports, like sometimes I'll play sports and love it, but then, on like a Wednesday or something like that, I'm like, I want to play something else besides football, or I want to play something else besides basketball. Or even with sports, maybe play a little football, I want to play a little basketball, maybe I want to bat the ball around a little bit, kind of jump around a lot, kind of like the Netflix approach. I had heard that mentioned about Xbox at one point, about them being the Netflix of gaming, and I really like that. Myself personally, that's some of the reasons why I choose them, and I'll get into why I choose them later. But that's some of the reason why I choose them, because of the fact that they offer so much different things. And also, just to let you know, they do offer a handheld to experience everything I just mentioned from Ubisoft Plus. The Xbox Rogue Ally X does get the same Ubisoft Plus benefits of all the games and things like that. They all run super smooth. Um, I know there was like, to be fair, there was something where the first Assassin's Creed Shadows I picked up wasn't running that smooth, but it was coming from Steam. But then, like, once I ran the Xbox version, like the console version of it, haven't seen the problem yet. I'm currently running on the second to highest settings, uh, but I max out like all graphics and things like that. Looks incredible to me. So, but yeah, uh, before we jump into the next topic, give me 1 second as I go grab a quick vape, and I will be right back. And I'm back. Just grab me a quick vape. Vapes don't really last that long. As far as breaks, just take a little break every now and again. I'm a vapor for a while. Have been for a while. I recommend it over standard, nicotine and stuff. But anyway, the next topic: why I'm loving Bethesda franchise games. Um, Now to speak on that, I did not fall in love with Bethesda games solely because they got bought by Xbox. I fell in love with I liked Elder Scrolls Online first. That was my first Bethesda game that I started playing. I had the subscription a long time ago, like years ago. I had the ESO subscription. I shut it down because I just didn't play it that much. Fallout 4 story is incredible. Literally, my favorite Fallout game. I'm currently still playing through that. I feel like it's the perfect mix of a post-apocalyptic game along with crafting. You know, being able to buy stuff, live places, build, and things like that. I think it's very great. Um, it doesn't play too heavy to the destroyed world aspect. Sometimes some games go too far into the destroyed world aspect. The NPCs I think are incredible. I'm a very big NPC guy. Myself personally, kind of like a lone wolf, if you could say. Kind of the wolf pack standpoint there when it comes to gaming. I love a good NPC that can run along with you and watch your back. Has been that way since GoldenEye 007 with Natalia and type of thing. And Ghost Recon back in the day on 64. So I love the fact that you can interchange NPCs and they all bring something different to the story, and they all have their own stories. That's why Fallout 4 has stayed a current game on my handheld as well as my console. Uh, we are probably a good ways away from the next Fallout, and I'm okay with that. I have not watched the TV show aspect yet. I know it's very good. I am not watching it yet because I don't really want it to ruin anything for me, story wise. But the story of Fallout 4 is incredible to me. The beginning was spot on. And it makes me, every time I think like, okay, I want to play a game, I think about, diving back into it and stuff like that. But it is one of my steady rotators. But my favorite all time Bethesda game is Starfield. I do have the Constellation tattoo as well. Um, I have about 201 hours into Starfield currently. Um, it's an incredible game. I just recently put up some gameplay of the Terran Armada DLC. Um, well done. Well, bravo, bravo. A lot of times with DLCs for games, which is not in Ubisoft or Bethesda, but some games, DLC is very much just a couple of quick missions, and then it's over. Whereas with the Terrain Armada, without ruining it for you, and also to tell the story of Starfield a bit there. So Starfield to me is potentially, if not the best space RPG to ever be created. I think that something like Starfield was everything all rolled into one. I think it was a great. It can be a solo game. They have power ups that are built solely for you to play by yourself. They have power ups that are built for you to run with people. They have robots that you can run with. They have countless cities and missions. I can tell you like a side quest that I did that has nothing to do with the story, so it won't ruin it for you. There was a mission. Now, keep in mind, this is 200 hours later, right? Um, there is a new game plus. If I could warn you on anything without actually ruining the story for you, before you accept the new game plus, understand that it will wipe all guns, bats, swords, lasers, whatever you got. It will wipe that as well as your ships, houses, currency, all that. So be aware of that before you start over. I had to actually take the time to understand whether or not I wanted to do it, and I'm glad I did. It's called Starborn, basically, and I am Starborn. That's why it's in my title there and everything. But yeah, I beat the game already. Started another run through. The second run through is completely different than the first run through because I'm experiencing a lot of things that I did not experience the first time around. There is a aspect to the story where you kind of like end the game that I'm staying away from because I'm not looking to do another new game plus because you can. It's like a new game plus where you can kind of like finish it, and every time you finish it, you get stronger and stronger and stronger. But a lot of times, like I've gotten very good, with the weaponry I have and the ships I have and stuff like that, and I'm not really looking to start over. And then there's also NPCs, romantic NPCs that you can have, whether it's man on man, woman on woman, or myself being a straight male, married almost 15 years. I tend to lean towards marriage and things like that. I married I think her name is Kate, right? If I'm not mistaken, in the game, and she rides with me as an NPC. But then I have other NPCs as well. I also do have Vascal, who is a robot that watches my back with a minigun and a laser. We all ride out in the ship together. They have kind of like a later on like a weightless approach. So what that means is like you can carry as much weight as you want. So you can kind of do that thing where like you run through like say 30 enemies and you collect all their gear and guns and armor and stuff, and you take it back to this planet of your choice and trade it in and have like thousands upon thousands of credits. um at the same time, I think that the story is incredible. I don't want to ruin it for you, but just give you a glimpse of it. There was one mission on Neon where there was a gang that was fighting with another gang. And normally I don't get involved in stuff like that, you know, the gang aspect of certain things. But what happened was one of the gangs was terrorizing the people of the planet by basically killing people and stuff like that for fun, like, you know, just torturing people and stuff. And then there was, you know, one gang that was torturing people for fun, and then there was another gang that just, you know, all they really did was knock off, like, you know, like banks and stuff like that. So I decided to side with them. So after, like, I want to say 4 or 5 very intense missions, what happened was I was able to take out the other gang, and when we took them out, the cops rolled up. And when the cops rolled up, they gave us the option to join the security force of the planet, basically become cops. And I was shocked. I felt like this was about to be a shootout. You know, I'm like, okay, you know, we about to, you know, we basically about to get down with these guys. It is what it is. But, you know, we talked our way out of it and things like that. And it was very good to see. And being 200 hours in and still discovering content like that really shows me, like, why I love that game, you know. But it also does make me say, hey, that's why I want to play Fallout 4 more, you know. Cause in the Terrain Armada DLC, which I'm glad about, the first mission or so, I was only about, I want to say 2 or 3 levels out from being able to finish it. So I got the 2 or 3 levels, and then basically what happened was after I got the 2 or 3 levels, I played the first part, but then the new part that I have to complete is like maybe 20 levels higher than what I am. So basically, what happens is that means that that's probably for me, that's probably like another 100 hours of gameplay that I'm gonna end up putting into that game. So I have no intention of not playing Starfield, you know, going forward. The only game that I would put in the light of Starfield, as far as enjoyment goes, would be Mass Effect. That's about the only other RPG I feel as though that stands up to it. But that can be a little cloudy too, because most people would tell you, you know, Mass Effect, let's say one they like, but then they didn't like two, or they didn't like three, or they didn't like Armada. I really liked all of them. I felt like they all had different aspects of them that were good, but I do think that the new Mass Effect is going to be incredible, and that'll be one of my favorites as well. I'm planning on, soon as the new soon as the new Mass Effect gets announced, I do plan on day oneing that. I'm a big Mass Effect fan, but Starfield, and I love space as well. Big space RPG guy. And space in general, anything really to do with space. You know, grew up being taught Star Trek from uncles and my father and stuff like that. So big fan of it. My favorite Star Trek is Next Generation with Picard and Voyager with Janeway. Um, but yeah, at the same time, I feel like, you know, that aspect of gaming from Starfield is incredible. Fallout's incredible, and so is Skyrim's good. The only problem I have with Skyrim, I think, with it being the so far out game, is the fact that it it's one of those, like, it feels too old to kind of get into in a way. Um, with just certain aspects of things, like, you know, I noticed I got a horse, but my companion didn't. So it kind of breaks immersion when you're, you know, galloping through the countryside, but your companion's like running behind you for like the past hour and a half, you know. And then like I remember one part recently where I walked into a cave. Oh no, I jumped back into the game after not playing for a while, and there was a group that I took out, and then I saved it at that point because I went to go do something at the time, and I came back to it, and all I did was go like to the next hallway, and the guys were like 20 levels higher than me or something. It was one of those things where, like, I had, because you have magic in there too, and I had basically, you know, set them on fire and swinging at them with the, you know, sword and all that, and they still killed me time after time. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of why I don't really run with this thing like that, because I feel like I feel like the new Elder Scrolls will be very good. You know, I could see me day one in that easy, and putting a lot of time into it. But I feel like Skyrim, very good game, just a little too old to get into nowadays. Bethesda, I feel as though is also one of the greatest studios to ever be created. I think it was a great move by Xbox to pick them up and bring them under the umbrella and stuff. I would be severely pissed if Starfield was a PlayStation only game, especially after everything I've played. If I saw other people playing that, I would be severely pissed. And as far as the thought there and the whole thing out there that the next Elder Scrolls and Skyrim, excuse me, the next Elder Scrolls and the next Fallout will be Xbox exclusives. I think that's smart because we are entering the olden days of games being exclusive to platforms. I think things like God of War is not on PlayStation, is not on Xbox. I think things like Wolverine is not going to be on Xbox, as well as other titles as well. So I think it's only fair that you keep, your big hitters to your platform. If the shout out to the boss, Nasir Sharma and Aaron Greenberg and Matt Moody and all them guys, if they were to tune in or run it back, I would say that is a smart option because I feel that Elder Scrolls and Fallout are very, very big titles. Starfield alone has 1 billion hours of gameplay from us users. So I feel like what that means is that we are going to get a Starfield 2 eventually. I don't think that they allow a game to have 1 billion hours of gameplay. I know a lot of people say things like, what about the sales? Sales is one aspect of it. You got to think if you made a game or you had a studio that made a game that had 1 billion hours put into it, and you were to go, well, you know what, we're just never going to make another one, I doubt that would be smart. Now, do I think the next Starfield comes out before Skyrim, before Elder Scrolls, the new one, and Fallout? No. I think it'll go probably, the new Elder Scrolls will come out. I heard something about Fallout New Vegas being remastered. I could see that coming out. The new Fallout coming out, and then possibly maybe 3-4 years from now, we get a new Starfield, which would be okay with me because 9 times out of 10, I would have had like probably at least 200 plus I'm at 200 now, so at least probably like 300 plus hours into that game. And then Mass Effect's gonna come out, so that'll kind of hold me over to that time. So, yeah. But great franchise, great games. One of the smartest moves I think Xbox could ever did was, picking them up. The next one. I still haven't ordered GTA 6, will I? Okay. To address the elephant in the room that is GTA. GTA is a very, very good title. Okay. I think that they tell very good stories. They have a very in-depth world. But we all know that GTA 6 will not matter once GTA Online comes out. We could also probably be reassured that GTA Online will cost you money. And whether or not you have to own the base game to play it is up for debate. But I do think that, I mean, first of all, I really don't have a problem with ultimate editions of games. If I like a game, I typically buy the edition right below the collector's edition. So there's like the collector's edition that comes with a bunch of crap, and then there's the ultimate version that comes with everything digital, right? With Grand Theft Auto, I don't necessarily have a problem with the Ultimate Edition. I just feel like myself as a gamer, when I look at the lineup for this year, when I look at the new DLC that's come out from Starfield, when I look at Fallout 4 and the Anniversary Edition, something like that would keep me busy for hundreds of hours. I think something like Madden is gonna keep me busy hella. And then you have 2K with, shout out the King is here, the new 76ers, LeBron James, right? By the time you have something like that, and then you double back to say a Call of Duty, which is going to be an incredible story, and then have a built-in multiplayer. These are things that make me second guess Grand Theft Auto, mainly because of the fact that I feel like everybody's going to have the same story. I'm not really going to be able to in my opinion, I'm not really going to be able to be creative with that as a content creator. I don't think a lot of people are taking that into consideration as content creators. From a gamer aspect, yeah, I mean, if you feel like, hey, basically, what do you call it? I just want to experience the game. Yeah, it's gonna probably be a good game. But I feel that myself watching a lot of crime stories coming up and stuff like that, very big fan of crime stories and stuff. You could tell this is a Bonnie and Clyde type thing, where basically um, they're going to either end up dead or they're going to end up very rich and walking away. And I think what that does is it it limits what I can do as a content creator. I typically don't buy games that I only play off camera. I mean, don't get me wrong, not every minute that I play of gaming is done on camera, but typically majority of it is, right? Like today I'm gonna after this podcast probably chill, play the game. That probably won't be live, mainly because, I did the podcast and I don't like overloading the day. But with a Grand Theft Auto standpoint, I'm pretty sure, when it comes out, every content creator will either, hurry up and finish it. There are some content creators out there that are now doing speed runs, because that's basically what it's called. A speed run is when you buy a game and you try to complete it as fast as possible to either beat someone else to it or basically attract an audience that is looking to see the whole game in their aspect. So you'll have those section of gamers, and then you'll have the people that, with the game coming out in November, some people may be getting it as a Christmas present, or as finances, they maybe want to wait until Christmas to get it, so they're not going to watch anything with the story because they don't want it ruined for them. Then at the same time, you have the aspect of, in my opinion, in not really having that much, how can I say it? Not really having that much creativity to it, right? That's one game that I would say, with it getting ready to come out, that, I mean, I understand that they haven't really released that much information about it, but the information to me that's come out makes me think, I mean, dag, we waited like 13 years or 10 years or whatever it was for this game, and for it not to be, I mean, even though you're going to come out with an online standpoint, 9 times out of 10, for there not to be a, customizable protagonist. Like, I feel like you should be allowed to create, like, the story of GTA, in my eyes, should be more of, the guy is fully customizable and the girl is fully customizable. And then the online comes out, and of course you would create your own character, but to be in a standpoint where you have this, like, what, like 20 million copies already sold, and the majority of the 20 million copies that are already sold are going to tell the same story. Like, you're going to have like hundreds of channels that are telling the exact same story, so it's a debate. I haven't ordered it yet. I have all the way till November to make my mind up. So far I'm 50-50 about it. I haven't actually decided not to get it, but I also haven't decided to get it. So, I'll keep you updated about it and stuff like that. If I do get it, I'll let you know. If I don't, then I'll recommend content creators that are doing well with it. The next one. Why I don't agree with Xbox removing COD from Game Pass. Here's my thing. I saw the movie Red Dawn when I was a kid. The original one and the new one. I like both of them, really. It tells the story of kind of like invasion and stuff like that, and war and stuff, and one country invading another. So that story to me is very appealing. As well as something like the multiplayer. I find Call of Duty multiplayer to be more fun than your standard Battlefield game, mainly because of the repetition, because of the fact that you can run, take out 2-3 people, die, get up and do it again within like 20 seconds. Whereas I feel like Battlefield is very sniper heavy and very like, it feels very sniper heavy. It's people that are like in it to just snipe a lot of times have the advantage, because they can sit on top of a building with like a 50 cal rifle and just lay you down from a distance and stuff like that. And I think that it's very fun to play at the same time. I just feel as though Call of Duty is a better franchise. I do plan on buying Call of Duty. Lord willing, I do plan on day oneing that game. Because I feel like with that, that also gives you some sort of creativity, you know, like in the aspect of like, as a content creator, you're in a situation where, you know, you can play the story slowly out. You know, a lot of people, when they think of Call of Duty, they don't necessarily think of the story. They think more of the multiplayer. A lot of people will be playing the multiplayer or the zombie aspect, or, you know, the Warzone aspect of things. And then the customization is very deep, not just with weapons, but armor and stuff like that as well. And then the story of Call of Duties, typically they don't miss. You know, every now and again, every franchise has a miss, but typically franchises stories with Call of Duties always hit pretty hard, and the average person will not stray away from watching that, and also will not care if I don't play it, you know, completely finished in one day. You know, so Call of Duty is definitely a game that I do plan on day oneing. When I say I think it was a bad move to move from Game Pass, Uh, the reason why I say that is because I feel like it takes away from the player count of Call of Duty. But I do think, whether they say it or not, there was some pushback from a Nintendo and other platforms that are like, hey, you know, our guys got to pay for this and you're giving it to your community for free, which is something that, you know, they may or may not like. And that's the reason why they had to switch it up. But it's not something that's a deal breaker for me. I just would prefer for it to be, you know, in Game Pass. But even though it's not, it's okay. You know, I still will be getting it. Okay, okay. Why I have decided what I've decided on next generation. Okay, so here's the thing. I used to have an Xbox Series X, 1 terabyte. Um, I bumped down to an Xbox Series S 1 terabyte mainly because of the fact that I thought next generation would be coming quicker than what it did. This was previous to the whole what do you call it there? This was previous to the whole memory gate crap, you know, of the whole what do you call it there? This was previous to the whole, you know, memory gate of like uh what do you call it there? The whole memory being so much and costing so much money, and people going, well, you know what, I'm just gonna, you know, not buy this game or not play this game because of the fact that basically you can't you know, you really have to watch memory now. Now that we're in the subject, I can literally say it. Myself personally, I am going to be looking into, okay, I'm gonna take the opportunity to look into buying another Xbox Series X. Um, Myself personally, I feel like when it comes to graphics and things, my streams are typically 1080p 30 or 1080p 60. And that's typically every stream. I don't really know anybody right now that is streaming at 4K anything. News content, as far as people that are you know, doing news updates, and people that are doing you know, video game news content, because this is a podcast, but people that are doing like, you know, daily. Hold on a second, let me get some water. 1 second. Grab me a little water here, as soon as I can find it. No, it's around somewhere. Crap, it's all the way over there. Oh, well, I have one near me. 1 second, let me just slide over and get some water. Ah. Ugh. Ah. All right, back in the game. So yeah, the thing about it is, I don't know a lot of people that are even you know, streaming in 4K when it comes to gaming. as far as what you see. But on our end, just like any other gamer, 4K TV, 4K streaming. Now the Xbox Series S does get up to 4K, but it's an upscale 4K. Whereas the Xbox Series X does 4K native. So I understand the rush that recently, because when I had my Xbox, I could tell the difference and stuff. Uh, excuse me, when I had my Xbox Series X, I could tell the difference. Um, I do think there is a I understand, like myself personally right now, I think, and it could be different for you, but basically GameStop, Best Buy, Target, Walmart, all these places that sell Xboxes are basically sold out. Now they might be getting a new shipment. They get new shipments every couple of weeks or so, but basically currently sold out completely, right? So I'm looking at it now to be prepared for the next shipment that's coming in. Myself personally, I like to buy things, but not, you know, overdo myself when it comes to purchases. Like I'm the type of dude that can have like thousands of dollars to put towards gaming and only spend a couple hundred. You know, mainly because I just don't feel comfortable putting everything into one purchase. Um, when it comes to um, when it comes to what I would do in this scenario, if I do purchase a Xbox Series X again, I may 9 times out of 10 not get rid of my Xbox Series S. Typically, I've always kept just one console, but we have uh we have the type of marriage, me and my wife, where like, and currently, like right now, she's watching her TV shows. I'm upstairs, in the crib doing a podcast. Um, and you know, after that, I'll probably game for a bit, later into the day while I maybe listen to another content creator's podcast or information they have to say about things. Um, but the let's say return value on a Xbox Series S 1 terabyte is not something that I'm comfortable with. With what I put out for it. Um, so I'm thinking about, getting the X and just keeping the S as well, and just, kind of making the S like my secondary console somewhere in the house. So that way, when she wants to say enjoy the area where everything is set up like where I am now, I can still have Xbox in another part of the house without actually having to, move my computer and, move all that stuff, right? So as far as the whole next gen thing goes, um, typically I always, get down with next gen in the beginning, right? Like in the actual like beginning of the generation, I'll be like, hey, gotta get it, new console, everything like that. Um, I'm a tad bit hesitant, to be honest. Mainly because of the fact that we are reaching skyrocketed prices, and I don't think it has anything to do myself personally with like a what do you call it there? I don't think it has anything to do with a specific administration or a president or a governor or a mayor. I just think that's we are where we are. It's kind of like saying with what do you call it? It's kind of like saying with my guy Marlo from The Wire. The price of the brick went up, and if I could give it to my man Daniels, this is bullshit. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? We can't do nothing about it. Nobody makes, um, not everybody makes memory like that, and you know, not really nobody. It's like I think it's like maybe like 2 or 3 people that make all of memory and chips and all that sorts of stuff. So if anything, 1,000 is the base price. There's no, in my eyes, I don't see any option there where it's less than 1,000, especially for Xbox, because I know that my Xbox Rogue Ally X, when I got it, was $1,000, and the Ally is about 700 or so, 600 or so. So, I mean, at bare minimum, they either do a new Xbox that's 1,000 and one that's like 500-600, or just 1,000 one. But I don't think they can come with the powerful one like the Helix, because I don't know whether there's going to be like a S Helix and an X Helix. I don't know, but I know that um there is no chance that I believe it's less than $1,000, because you have to think, and this is speaking as a person that has worked in retail before, electronics wise and things, and been explained this. Uh, Products can confuse customers sometimes, and when that happens, it can cause a loss in sales. What that basically means is, like, prime example, right? Let's say Xbox Helix comes out and they strip out Steam, like this thing I hear people talking about, oh, they're just going to take away Steam, and they're going to take away Ubisoft Connect, and they're going to take away GOG, and they're going to take away BattleNet, and it'll play those games, but you got to get them somewhere else, and then you got to just link them to your Xbox, and they're only going to play Xbox PC games. And I'm like, if the handheld does more than a console, a lot of gamers will choose to just stick with the handheld. So I don't think they'll be doing that. I think that the image that we get from the handheld is what the next Xbox is going to be, and I respect that. It's a PC slash console. I myself was not really a Steam guy like that until I actually what do you call it? I myself was not really a Steam guy like that until I actually got a Steam Deck, played with it for a while, and then ended up moving on to the Xbox Rogue Ally X. And I think that, to be honest, uh it is the best handheld on the market today. And I mean that over the Steam Deck, over the Nintendo Switch, over all the other ones that cost more. I think it's the best one for the best bang for your buck, in my opinion. I also do believe that as time goes on and things like that, we will get more information on the next Xbox. But to plunk down $1,000 on a console right out the bat, especially knowing that, in all honesty, let's be honest, we can't do better than 4K at this point. Nothing. I understand there may be a new level of 4K, but when you really look at it, like, nothing is shown higher than 4K. Not like there's no football games. There's no. I mean, let me take this back. I'm pretty sure if they have an 8K TV, there is some sort of 8K content out there, but your standard everyday content, like your football games, your basketball games, I'm not even talking video games, I'm talking real life for a minute here. Your real life football, basketball, baseball type games, these are not shown in 8K. They're at highest shown in 4K. Okay? Um Things like Netflix is 4K, right? Apple, iTunes, excuse me, iTunes, Apple, TV, HBO Max, Paramount, Crunchyroll. All this typically goes all the way up to 4K. So I'm pretty sure there'll be some sort of talk of an upgraded version of that. Some sort of like um some sort of understanding of, okay, well, this plays a higher level of 4K, but at 1,000, to me, um that is basically a lot, because, like I said, living in the greater state of Washington, tax is pretty high, and I don't want to say pretty high like unreasonable, but it is up there, and you also have to take into account things like insurance, as far as, like, I'm pretty sure it'll come with like a year's manufacturer experience. Like, take the Xbox Series X, right? When I buy that, when I buy the Xbox Series X that I'm, hoping, Lord willing, to get, I plan on buying an extra level of insurance, possibly, so that way if anything happens to it over the next year or 2 years, I can get a new console, I can get a new controller, without having to worry about, okay, buying a whole new console. Right? I can just put it in a box, ship it back to Microsoft, and they either fix it or send me another one. Right? So if you take into account that the console is 1,000, the insurance package on it's going to be another 100. right? Sales tax going to be probably about on $1,000 device. Sales tax going to be at least $50 to $60. So the grand total really is somewhere around 11, close to $1,200. Myself personally, for a handheld that I never ever had that showed me it was incredible, I could see doing that. But then turning around and doing that for a console that, in a way, I know can wait a year or at least two, really, and potentially, not to say have a price drop, but maybe have more deals available to it. That's the thing that has me thinking about possibly, especially if I get the X, again. If I was to get my X back again, I could see, because I mean, when I looked it up today, they said that, when I looked it up today, they said something about analysts believe that the new Xbox, will debut in late 2027. So I'm assuming like holiday 27 or fall 2027, and then the what do you call it there? And then the uh 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 latest or possible late release could be 2028. So now, if I was to get an Xbox Series X, and let's say that the new one does not come out till 2028 or 2027 late, I have at least a whole year with my console to make my mind up on whether or not I want to get it. And also, we have to keep in mind too that, with prices like that, a lot of places, not saying they won't sell it, but I would be, how can I put it? I would be surprised if a I would be surprised if a GameStop sells $1,000 anything. Whether that be a PlayStation or a Xbox. Mainly because of the fact that PlayStation is, no longer wanting to do disc, and there's no, I'm not gonna sit up here and say that there's any sort of guarantee that Xbox is gonna do discs anymore. So if that's the case, that could alter where you buy it from. If the only place to buy that system is basically like Best Buy, I mean, how many can they really get? Even if they get a pallet. I mean, as a person that's worked in warehouse before, pallets are typically only like 50, 60 items because you have to think about shipment, and storage and stuff like that. A truck can only hold so much. And you have to think your average area has what? Two, maybe two or three Best Buys, depending on where you live in the country. So you're talking what, 50, you're talking maybe 50 Xboxes across two stores. That's about $100,000 worth of Xboxes, right? To two Best Buys, and that's not including the entire country type thing. Yeah, I don't really know, So I'll keep you updated on it. But myself personally, I know I do want to look into the X. But as far as immediately jumping into next generation, I'm waiting to hear more about what it does, when it'll be available, and the aspect of how I want to go about it. Let's see here. My thoughts on Power World. I think Power World is, in my opinion, I can see the aspects that they have from things like, Pokemon and Minecraft and shooter games and stuff. But I do think it is its own kind of game, myself personally. I think that it does sit in its own world as far as different kind of game there. I've tried it out a little bit. Uh if I can say anything, typically I will watch games that I'm curious about play out with other content creators before I make it like a day-to-day streamer on my title. I think it's a good game, but I think that I would rather put time into something like, say, State of Decay 2, especially with State of Decay 3 coming out. Mainly because of the fact that I feel, or Skyrim, because I feel like with that you get more of like a direction. I feel like with Power World there's a lot of like kind of like speed running going on, like everybody just captures all the, pals and then they move on type thing. Now, if they do put more pals in later, or if they do put, a bigger 2.0 version or something, I can see it. But I think it's a good game. but I think it's something that I may put in a vault and return to a little bit later. The next one, why, and we're almost out of here too. Why Hogwarts Legacy is incredible, but I'm gonna wait till 2 rather than keep playing. Um, I'm gonna check and see, but when I kicked over Hogwarts Legacy on my handheld, the save that I had from the console did not kick over. Now, if I kick over Hogwarts on my console and I still have the save, then I can see picking up from that point. But I also feel like too that Hogwarts was very puzzle heavy, but an incredible game. I'm a big fan of the Hogwarts Legacy, Harry Potter world, Slytherin House. You know, Slytherin House. Have been since day one. Check my tweets. Um, but yeah, I think it's an incredible game. The graphics was great. The story was immensely tough. I'm glad they did not focus on Harry Potter or really anything to do with him, and focused more on Hogwarts Legacy. Even if I don't complete Hogwarts Legacy 1, I do plan on day oneing Hogwarts Legacy 2. It's just I have, that game's probably going to be put back into the vault until either the TV show comes out from Harry Potter, excuse me, from yeah, because I'm pretty sure they're going back to like the young Harry Potter. So I would probably put that back in the vault until I get a little bit more time on my hands, because I'm pretty sure Hogwarts Legacy 2 isn't coming out anytime soon. So the next one, why I choose the platforms for my empire I do. I saved this one to the end to kind of explain it a little bit. First of all, let me say something. I think that any platform you see me on has good qualities. Okay. Any of the other previous platforms you've seen me on, whether that be SoundCloud or Kick or Mixer or anything like that, had good qualities. But I feel that in my opinion, TikTok has the best constant content, meaning that you could open your phone and go to a live stream. Like, say you could open TikTok, go to my live stream, and let's say I'm playing, I don't know, as an example, Starfield, right? And let's say I play about 4 or 5 hours worth of Starfield, right? And you watch 4 or 5 hours. After that, you could literally like just start scrolling and find yourself on TikTok for another 2, 3 hours and entertained. Not even if it's just game streams, but there's like so much different content. Like game streams, comedy stuff, sports stuff. It's like the perfect short form content with a splash of long form content when it comes to gaming as well. They're really starting to establish themselves as far as a game streaming brand too, and I really like it. So, and I appreciate every single one of you, new and old, that have you know, join the community over there on TikTok. I greatly appreciate it. We keep pressing to 6,000. That's the goal. When we get there, we get there. But at the same time, I appreciate all of you for your constant effort, attending streams, watching streams, liking shows, reposting, commenting, things like that are greatly appreciated. Why YouTube over other platforms for the Green Load Screen podcast and video on demand? First of all, YouTube podcast and gameplay is able to be placed on my website. So what that means is I am able to take this podcast, which I will be doing today, this podcast and another podcast, and place them on the website where you can view it there and listen directly on the website. Or at the same time, when it has to do with gameplay, as long as it's not, adult gameplay, like gory type stuff, I can put that on the website as well. So I feel like what happens is, and then a catalog. I thank everyone, over the 10 plus years here that have gotten us over, 5,000 here as well. I think we have a great retention rate where everyone that is a part of the community on YouTube is also a member of the community on TikTok, because the numbers typically match each other. I think that at the same time, I do see everyone that, watches and watches back playbacks, and life is different. I think that we have to understand that we all have different responsibilities. You know, like I'm a married man. Some people are married with kids. Some people just have kids. Some people have jobs that don't really give them time away. Some people are in school. You know, some people are just busy. You know, and I think YouTube fills that gap for that, where you're able to say, okay, I can't watch all of this now, but I'm gonna come back later and watch it. You know, or I can't listen to all of this right now, but I'm going to listen to maybe 20, 30 minutes on my lunch break, and then I'll watch the rest when I get home from work or when my kids go to sleep or something like that, you know. And I think YouTube does a great aspect of that. Um, Kick is good as well, but I think that Kick is still growing. And in my opinion, they do not have the servers that they do not have the servers yet to store a lot of content. So when I do shows like this, they only keep, I think, like 2 episodes. And I don't think that's good because, and myself personally, I feel like what happens is, like, all right, prime example. Let's say a person today goes, okay, I stopped past the podcast. I heard about 20 minutes or so, but I got to go do something. Later today, they can come back. Either later today, they can come back and run it back. Whereas with, Kick, in that standpoint, if I do another 2 shows, you lose whatever I said, you know. Whereas, like, there's plenty of podcasts that I listen to. You all know who you are. I follow you and listen to your content and stuff. I will go back, to everything that came out, say, in a week, because I tend to try to keep it at least in a week standpoint. You know, some people do podcasts where there's 2 people. Some people do podcasts where there's 1 person. Some people do podcasts where there's 4 and 5 people. But YouTube gives us the ability to go back and watch all that whenever we want to. And I also think that the reach of YouTube really does help the empire in and of itself, because because of the fact that you can view everything I'm talking about. You know, all the games that I talked about today, all the missions, I mean, yeah, there might be gaps here or there, like maybe a game that I played that I didn't stream, or a mission that I didn't put up or anything like that. But you're able to get it's like a music catalog in a sense, like a buffet. You're able to get the buffet experience when it comes to me as a game streamer, and I really like that. And my first home was YouTube. When I first started out, YouTube was able to be streamed to from an Xbox. Now, I don't know why they took that away. Who knows? I don't know if that's because Google and Microsoft just couldn't work it out. But as it currently stands, you can't do that from an Xbox anymore. And it's okay because I've moved on from that style of streaming as far as streaming directly from a console. Like, I have a very in deep setup right now. Um, at the same time, I think that these 2 platforms to me are industry leading in their categories. I think TikTok is the leader of scrollable, short and long form content, and I think YouTube is the home of basically all video on demand. And that serves a great purpose for what I'm looking for, and some things that I'm not going to get into today, but certain things that I am looking to do in the future. So I encourage everybody. The show is not just the show, but the channel is currently not monetized. You subscribe. I encourage you to subscribe and things like that. But when the time does come, watch the podcast. If you are curious about Starfield, everything is in playlists. Okay, every game that I like basically comes with a playlist. So what that means is you can go to the channel, click on the playlist, find, if you like Madden, you can find the Madden playlist, or Madden, Starfield, Assassin's Creed. What else there? Madden, Starfield, Assassin's Creed, NBA 2K, Tom Clancy's Division, Ghost Recon Wildlands. You see what I'm saying? Everything has its own section, right? So you're able to say, well, you know what? I want to watch this because I feel like it's like me, like, cause I have over 500 videos out there already, right? And typically, it's about over 500 videos with at least over, at bare minimum, probably about 2 hours of content per video. So that's probably somewhere around almost 1,000 hours of gameplay on my YouTube channel. Okay. So in that standpoint, I think it's better that people are able to pick what they want to watch instead of having to scroll through 800 videos to find, 600 videos to find a game. I think it's better that way, in my opinion. So yeah, going forward, that's what it'll be. Basically TikTok will be the home of all live stream content. Okay. And it also, the TikTok channel is set at 18 older. So what that does is it gives me the ability to be able to play more adult style games without running the risk of showing that to people that are not supposed to see it. Um, and then YouTube in and of itself, even though they do not let you monetize gory style content, I do play games that are not always as gory, like Madden, 2K, Major League Baseball, and this podcast. So there will always be options for those that maybe don't want to see violence, right? Violence in that standpoint. So I just wanted to at least put that out there to clear up why I choose these platforms over others, because I know there may be questions like, "Hey, I saw you here," or I listened to you here. Why are you not there anymore? I just wanted to kind of clear that up. This isn't Choices like this are not done lightweight. A lot of times I will take days, maybe weeks, and be thinking about something like this, and then say, okay, this is where it needs to be. And also going into the rest of this year and going forward, I don't really want to change anymore. Like I kind of want to keep it solid where it is. And I feel like in a way with some of these other platforms, you don't really know if they're going to be around long term. Nothing against them, but like take Theta for instance, right? Theta was a Theta was a crypto. It still is a cryptocurrency, but they had opened the platform, and I was over there for a while. A lot of us were over there, and then they just shut it down and said that they were only doing it for proof of concept. And at the same time, what ended up happening was you lost all your content, right? Same thing with Mixer. Mixer was great, got up to level 100, played on the main channel several times, but at the same time, they ended up shutting it down. So sometimes you don't want to build a foundation on a house on a shaky foundation. And I know, TikTok is finally, and I was, a part of TikTok long before they, when they were still referred to as the dance site and stuff. So I'm not really new there, but at the same time, I understand that some people waited until it got to where it is now to trust it, to be able to say, hey, I'm going to let, my family watch it, or I'm going to download it on my phone, or I'm going to watch it on my car, or you see what I'm saying? Before they accepted it in a sense. And I feel like YouTube also has the 24/7 gameplay for people. So like if you're in a situation where, let's say I'm not live, or let's say I'm trying to think of a game that you would want to catch up on, like say take any of the Assassin's Creed games I mentioned today, right? Let's say you're like, you know what, I want to see a little bit of the gameplay. I don't want to actually, be ruined with the story. You can go to the catalog list, pull down a video, watch as much as you want to watch, support the channel. Every minute goes towards bringing it closer to being monetized. And it's a perfect way for me to be able to get support without actually having to charge you. You see what I'm saying? Same thing with like TikTok. You can like videos, watch there, follow along without actually having to subscribe, but having that option is nice. And it will be nice eventually when I get it with YouTube. I just have to, put out more consistent content to raise those hours. So I wanted to at least address those topics before I called it a stream and stuff. Now I do have 3 bonuses. Okay, these are the 3 bonuses I'm going to go through, and after these 3 bonuses, I'm gonna get you up out of here because we are about 2 hours in. About 6 o'clock. I wanted to kind of end it pretty early, so everybody can kind of do their own thing. People getting ready for work, life, school, all that sort of stuff on Monday. So do your own thing. Bonus number 1: why I choose Xbox over other platforms. The reason myself personally, because I was born, like I said, as you can see, in the 86 years there, where there wasn't an Xbox. I predate Xbox, PlayStation, and mobile. Well, I shouldn't say mobile because there was things like Snake, but there was no like mobile what you see today. So I predate Xbox, PC, and mobile. The only thing that predates me is Atari, right? Um, in my generation, the fight was between Nintendo and Sega. I didn't really choose a side. I thought both were good. And then as time went on, I felt as though what took me away from Nintendo. First of all, let me tell you like this: I played Nintendo. I'm talking about the GoldenEye 007s, Demolition Man. What else there? Demolition Man, GoldenEye 007, Killer Instinct, Banjo Kazooie, Cruising the World. All these great games. Somewhere along the line between Nintendo's comeback from the Wii into the Switch, I feel like they got very. Don't get me wrong. There's a difference between family friendly and repetitive, and I think they've gotten very repetitive in a sense. Without putting out personal information, I did have a younger family member, very close to me, family members that are younger, that are about 18, 19, and their opinion was similar. I thought it was just me. I'm the old, about to be 40 guy, because I'm about to be 40. Um, I'm the old 40 guy that has that opinion that, Nintendo is repetitive and didn't really grow up with us, and they feel the same way, because they maybe coming up played a little bit of Mario, a little bit of Pokemon, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But kids, because I don't want to call them kids, because anybody that is above the age of like 13, 14 is really like a teenager type thing, young adult in my opinion. Um, they want to experience freedom, I feel, in gaming, just like we do, right? Like you want to feel like, okay, I can do anything in this game, not okay, I can only, jump on this brick and keep jumping and dance for a little bit or whatever. Like that has been going on since the 80s. And I have nothing against Mario. I think he's a great guy. I think it's a great standpoint there, but we have been rescuing Peach since 87. And I'm like, come on, man. Like y'all made this switch for that. Now don't get me wrong, things like Animal Crossing I think is very great as a game. I have 100 hours into that game before I walked away from the Nintendo Switch. But as far as I can tell, with the success of Poketopia, I don't think you're getting an Animal Crossing anytime soon, in my opinion. I think that if they were to bring out Animal Crossing right now, it would eat Poketopia alive. It would eat its lunch, right? And I don't think they want to do that. I think they may be holding Animal Crossing for more like when the new Xbox comes out, or when the new PlayStation comes out, or they both are out, to kind of bring people more closer to the brand. Um, I also think myself that Poketopia is a very good game, but and as a person that beat Let's Go Pikachu, loved it, but once that was over, myself personally, I don't really have an interest in the higher than 150 Pokemon. Like anything over 150, I don't really know or acknowledge like that. Not like in a bad way, but I don't know any of them, or because I think it's up to like what, thousands of them now. So you're talking maybe like 800 or 900 Pokemon that I don't even know who they are. you know. And then at the same time, I would have preferred with Poketopia there be more of like a kind of like a Power World aspect to it. I mean, I know they can't put guns in there, but I mean they could have. I think that when people say that Power World took something from Pokemon, I'm like, they didn't take anything that Pokemon couldn't have did themselves. You know, I'm not saying that they could have put guns in there and made Brock a military guy or nothing, but there's an aspect there of creativity that could have been done. But what you gotta understand is it's kind of like when somebody says, did you think that?" Because I was asked that at one point in the past, is Grand Theft Auto, you think, going to come to the Switch? Myself personally, I say no, because there's difference with Call of Duty. Call of Duty is a military style shooter that can be explained to people and younger adults in that way. But I think with something like a Grand Theft Auto, where we all know there's going to be like home invasions, drug sales, car death, gun violence against police officers, hookers, this is all stuff that I don't believe. I could be wrong, but I don't believe that's something they allow on the Switch, because of the fact that it could damage their brand towards the younger audience that they want to attract a lot. So that's what made me kind of back up from Nintendo. Um, as far as the PlayStation aspect, there was a period where I did have a PlayStation 4 for a while. Um, Myself personally, there are great games. Like that's something right there where I would say PlayStation makes some good games, but I don't have to own, like, how somebody will say, well, I don't need an Xbox because I can play them on PlayStation. Well, going forward, I'm going to be able to do that with the new Xbox, and I can do that right now on my ROG Ally X. Like I have Detroit Become Humans, which is an amazing game, which I'm pretty sure was a PlayStation exclusive for a while there. Um, Myself personally, I have a Spider-Man tattoo as well. Big Spider-Man fan, but the Spider-Man that I'm a fan of when I was a kid was Black Spider-Man. Not, and I don't mean Miles Morales. I mean Venom Spider-Man. Like when Venom was first created and he was under Spider-Man and they were one, like that's the Spider-Man I like. So basically, Miles Morales is a game that I never finished, right? And then the Spider-Man Venom game that recently just came out, I didn't finish. I haven't finished Detroit Become Humans. Um, I played a little bit of the original God of Wars that came out, but I did not complete the first one that recently came out when it was like, boy, get out of my house and all that, right? I haven't finished that one. I think it's called Ragnarok, right? And then the other PlayStation one that came out, the second one after that. So basically, that's like 5 PlayStation games that are like at least. I mean, by the time you look at Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, God of War 1, God of War 2, and Detroit Become Human, you're probably talking like what, 400-500 hours worth of gameplay. So by the time I can get about 400 or 500 hours of the first wave of PlayStation classics, I don't really see the need for me to have a PlayStation like that. As far as the other games go, they are not really appealing to me like that. Like if like I forget the name of the samurai game there, but the Oshu something like that, right? But the samurai game to me does not stand up to an Assassin's Creed Shadows. I feel as though it's the better game. I also feel as though it's the better franchise. Um, and at the same time, I respect it. It's like East versus Eastern Conference football and Western Conference. I mean Eastern Conference basketball and Western Conference basketball. They both have their qualities, but to me, Xbox to me has the best deals in the business as well. I think Game Pass Ultimate is basically the best deal in gaming. 20, 30 something bucks a month for 400 plus games that alternate all the time, I think is a great thing. I think also being at the tip where um, some of the biggest titles that are on the way out, like the Elder Scrolls and the Fallouts and stuff, being in a position where they may not be a PlayStation available game is makes it even better. Um, as far as like the technology goes, I've never myself really had a what you call it. Myself personally, I've never really had a problem with um the technology, right? Like I've never really had a Xbox malfunction on me or not run correctly or something like that. So I have nothing bad to say about the hardware. As far as like the price, as far as like a Xbox being 1,000, I mean, frankly, almost probably PlayStation is going to be 1,000 if I'm not mistaken, right? Like all consoles are going to be 1,000. So this isn't something where it's like, okay, well, Xbox is charging 1,000 and PlayStation is charging 5. Like you can look up the articles where they've already said that like the next PlayStation costs like something where they said the next PlayStation costs 1,000 to make and they're not selling it at a loss, right? So what that means is if it costs 1,000 to make, we're not going to sell it for 500 just to basically appeal to people. Like if it costs 1,000 to make, at bare minimum it's going to be 1,000. So the new buy-in is 1,000. Um, at one point I had it all. Like not like a movie scenario, like had it all, but I called it there was a period like a couple years ago I called it the power of all three, right? Where I had a Nintendo Switch 2, or I think the one was out at that time, OLED. I had the Nintendo Switch OLED, I had the PlayStation 4, and I had Xbox. Memberships to all of that can get pretty pricey, like when you're talking about 40 to this one, 40 to that one, 40 to this one a month. Then you got games that maybe don't come on the services that you got to buy. You got hardware that you got to keep up with. I mean that I think that era of thing. That's also to speak to that. I think that when you hear, and I'm not trying to put any words in her mouth or say I know some rumor or something, But I think that's what Asha Sharma means when she mentions like people are not willing to spend thousands on consoles anymore. I think what that means is more like nobody's gonna own like $1,000 PlayStation. I mean, some small majority, right? But nobody's gonna own like $1,000 PlayStation, $1,000 Xbox. What the Switch is at about about 500, right? And they're already talking about they're coming out. If you don't know, there is a new Switch that's coming out, not a Nintendo Switch 3, but a Nintendo Switch OLED. You know they're gonna do the OLED thing again. So 9 times out of 10, that's probably gonna be. I mean, well, damn, if the regular one is at like 5, the new OLED boy got to be at least like what, like 50, 56, something like that, right? So you talking about 1,000 on PlayStation, if at minimum 1,000 on PlayStation, 1,000 on Xbox, and 600 on Nintendo. That's about $2,600 worth of hardware, man. You know, damn. Like, hey, I'm a gamer myself too, but you got to keep things within reason. You can't. Look, I ain't pocket checking nobody. I ain't telling nobody what to do or whatever. But if that's what you want to do, and then by the time you got what the Xbox lowered there, let's say Xbox is about 30. You got, because you have to activate all the services when you buy them, right? So you have about Xbox at about 30. You got PlayStation at about 30, and you got Nintendo at about 30. So you're talking about $2,600 in hardware and about another 100 in subscriptions right out the back. So to buy it all and activate it all, you're talking about somewhere around $2,700, right? That's the, first of all, I ain't got too much time to be real with you. I got the time to give to one console, because I'm like, I would rather have a great experience with the one than try to like span myself across multiple things. Especially when we can absorb, like some things are just gonna be the way it is. Like Pokemon. Do I ever see a time when Pokemon is available outside of Nintendo? No. Like these guys are like the original we ain't giving it up type things, when it comes to gaming. Like Pokemon and Mario and stuff like that, I think will always only be available on Nintendo. Um, the stance that PlayStation took about, their exclusives only being available on their console, I can see that. I can see them sticking to that. And that's why I think that when people are questioning whether or not like Elder Scrolls and Fallout and stuff are gonna be console exclusives, I believe they will. Not saying I'm gonna buy it either way. Like I don't buy stuff because someone else can or cannot play it. But where I'm coming from is if you say, okay, we're not gonna give, like look at them like three guys in a scenario, right? We're not gonna give you Pokemon. We're not gonna give you Mario. We're not gonna give you Donkey Kong, and we're not going to give you Animal Crossing, right? And then PlayStation goes, we're not going to give you God of War. We're not going to give you the new Venom game. We're not going to give you the new Wolverine game. And we're also not going to give you Ghost of Tsushima. That's the name of it. I forgot about it for Ghost of Tsushima, right? So it would kind of be unwise for Xbox to say, well, why would we give you Elder Scrolls and Fallout? Why would we give you the new Halo, which is being worked on 9 times out of 10? If it ain't, that'd be wild. But when the new Halo comes out and the new Elder Scrolls comes out and the new Fallout comes out and Gears E-Day is coming out and the possibly next Forza, which would be Forza 6 Motorsport, I'm not mistaken there. Like, why would these games be out there? Now, if they are, they are. I'm not one that's like I'm upset at them or I'm upset that you did it. I don't have a problem with that. But I think we are returning to an era that I remember where you had to buy that to play that. And that's what separated a lot of us. Like, hey, I want to play this. Oh, I feel you, man. You had cats in school. Hey, man, what's up, man? Hey, man, I love me some Mario. That's why I'm on Nintendo. I feel you, brother. I feel you. Oh, man, I'm a Halo guy. That's why I'm an Xbox. Well, I'm a god. I gotta play my Grand Theft Autos, my God of Wars. Okay, cool. That's why it is. I think that's where we're really returning more to. And especially with the way prices are going up and things, I think a lot of people are going to choose more now than what they chose in the past. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm going to be here. The podcast's going to be here. The stream's going to be here. But I think that's where we're going, with the gaming industry, and that's why like I choose the platform I choose, because I look at it like, okay, um, the games that I like to play are gonna be available for me. You know, State of Decay 3 is gonna be available whether it's in Game Pass or not. I plan on buying that. Just because I love State of Decay, I think it's the perfect zombie game where it's not too much in your face, but it's, you know, it's like the perfect blend of like Sims and zombies. You know, it's kind of like the Sims with zombies in a sense, and I really like that. You know, I like the whole, you know, craft part and all that crap. I heard something about, which I hope is true. I heard something about you can have 30 NPCs in your camp, which would be, to me, super incredibly fun, because that's 30 different characters that you're playing with. Um, and then, like I said, I love Fallout 4, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love, and I'm day oneing, regardless if it's in a Game Pass or not, a what's the name of it there? A Fallout 5, right? So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love that because I love Fallout 4. Um, Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Like I said, I think Skyrim's default is the fact that it's so older, but I do like the game. I did like Elder Scrolls Online, and I did like my time in Skyrim. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like 6, because I mean, 9 times out of 10 they're gonna improve on everything that came out for the original Elder Scrolls. Gears E Day, I'm really looking forward to that. I wasn't really looking forward to E Day like that when it was thought to be like basically Gears Reloaded in a sense, like, you know, Gears 1 or whatever. But this feels more like something completely different. Like, I don't think I've ever fought the enemies in a regular city. You know, I mean, yeah, they've had like regular cities, but like, you know, the regular like standard what do you call it? Like, you know, like the regular standard modern city and stuff like that. And then you have returning characters. Now, I would have really liked to have seen the story continue with his son, myself personally. And a woman there. I did not play Gears. I think it was 5, but I did play. I think it's 4. The one with his son. I know I played the one with his son, but I did play the one with the woman that's in the team. So I gotta finish that, and I have Gears E Day. So yet another game in the vault that I can run back to. Um, Fable looks incredible, to be honest. I'm, like I said, big fan of magic and swords and stuff like that. So at the same time, that game is very appealing to me. I think it's going to be the perfect game in the beginning of the year to kind of like settle in a little bit, you know, because you probably would have, you know, ran at least I know me, I probably would have already run a season already, and I've already run a full season in college football. We got to the Mountain West Championship. We lost in the Mountain West Championship, but we won the Snoop Bowl, which is like the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. We won that. I do still plan on playing it every now and again, but at the same time, oh crap, dropped my phone. I do plan on still playing it every now and again, but I am going to be watching how much sports content I put out, because I think there was a little bit too much sports and not enough variety. That's something that I recognize just looking back at my content this past year. I was like, you know, looking back, I'm talking like years worth of content. Like looking back, I was like, you know what, I had a lot more variety going on, and I think once Madden kind of took off, and college football and stuff, it started to be a lot of like just football and things like that. So it's going to be a lot more variety going forward, right? So in that case, that's where I mentioned things like, you know, Call of Duty being incredible. Yeah, there'll be 2K days, and there'll be, you know, Madden days and college football days, but you know, I'm really looking forward to like the stories of like Call of Duty. If I do go down the Grand Theft Auto road, maybe Grand Theft Auto, which I'm not too sure yet. But I know the ones I know, Lord willing, I'm definitely on board for is like Call of Duty, State of Decay 3, State of Decay 3 doesn't have a release date, but State of Decay 3, Fable, um, uh, 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 jumping back into a Fallout 4, and that's really a lot right there, you know, in and of itself. And then I still have Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I haven't finished, Black Flag, which I'm running through, Syndicate I'm dealing with, Origins, you know, so you know how they say, we eating good over here. You know, we eating good over here. So I'm not in a position where I feel like I'm missing out on something, not having another platform. But I respect them. You know, I'm saying, hey, y'all make some good games. You know, I think Wolverine. I have nothing really bad as a comic book guy that grew up and a fan of X-Men 92 and X-Men comics in general. I think Wolverine looks good. It's a very bloody slash 'em up type of game. I do get the impression though that Spider-Man, in my opinion, I'm glad that it did make its way to Steam because I do believe that Spider-Man is going to be the better game than Wolverine. I feel like with Wolverine, Wolverine's going to win out because it's in a certain category with people because it's bloody, right? Because it's very like, I'm gonna cut your arm off and I'm dice you up and all that. But I feel like with Spider-Man, it's going to be more of the better game all the way around because of everything it gives you, right? Like the whole open city, and you can swing through the world, and you can, drop down on somebody and stop a crime, and then swing away and stuff. Whereas I see a lot of Wolverine cutscenes, like a lot of like, okay, he's on a motorcycle, and then he drives motorcycle through a billboard, and then he lands on a train, and I'm like, okay, you ain't controlling that in a demo, and I'm like, that's a cutscene, and then like he's talking to Jean Grey and yada yada yada, and I'm like, okay, that's another cutscene. So it's like it gives me the impression that it's like action, 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 cutscene, action, 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 cutscene, action, action, cutscene, roll credits. And not to say that's not gonna be good, but I feel like if I had to judge the two, I think Spider-Man's games are gonna look better in the long run in that standpoint. Um, so yeah, I just want to at least give the opinion there, about why, because some people may feel like, well, why do why do you choose Xbox, and that's not something I'm just gonna like talk about now. It could be something I visit later on when certain games come out to kind of give more an expression of it, but I just wanted to at least explain that. Um, the last one, and then I'm gonna get you out of here. The mod section is open for new members. What I am looking for and how you can get in. Okay, so first off, I think every one of the mods that I have now, they are the best in the business. They have been riding with me for years. They are going nowhere. This is not about getting rid of them. This is about adding another depth level to that. I feel that there are some people that have become, busy with life, whether that be becoming older, whether that be getting jobs, going to school, working, whatever you want to call it. And there's different kinds of mods. I think there's mods that enjoy Madden. I think there's mods that enjoy anything I'm playing. I think there's mods that enjoy just this podcast. And I think there needs to be more added in there. You see what I'm saying? Like there's some people that might go, hey, you know what? I can't attend every game live stream, but I do want to be a mod for the podcast. I do want to show up for that to hear the game news, right? That can be arranged, Or let's say someone's like, hey, I want to be a mod for TikTok. I don't really watch a lot of football. I'm not into football like that, but I really want to be a mod when it comes time for like State of Decay 3 and Fable and RPG games like Starfield and stuff like that can be arranged. The real qualification of it really is that you spend time in the stream that I can tell. You see what I'm saying? Like something where it's like, not saying like comment every 5 minutes, but you would have to essentially like comment to let me know you're there, right? And then kind of like hit me up on some sort of message board here. Hey, I want to be a mod, and I would make a note of your name. And then once let's say a couple of weeks kind of go by where I see consistency, I would make you a mod. You would be invited into the Discord as a mod. um and you would join the ranks of the mods and everything. It is contingency on keeping up with me, meaning like if you go missing for more than, let's say, I normally say a month, but I'm bringing it down to a couple of weeks. You got to understand how long a couple of weeks is in a gaming world, especially when I'm pumping out, 40 plus hours worth of gameplay a month, and 5 and 10 plus hours of game podcast every week to 2 weeks. I need people that I can keep up with. Not saying that the original, we're not talking about the original mods, we're talking about the new people. With the new people, I have to be able to keep up with you. Name changes and location changes is okay as long as I'm kept up to date about that, because sometimes I have had to remove people because of the fact that I don't know who you are. It's like you had this name when you first became a mod or you first entered the, let's say, Discord or things like that, and then I'm like, well, who are you? And you get you'll go 1 second. Oh, um, what do you call it? Uh, uh, I'll go, who are you? And get no response. And I'm like, okay, well, I kind of have to not say remove the mod chip from this person, but I have to remove the mod chip and the status from this person because I don't know if this person is, especially nowadays where people like lose access to their accounts or they, uh, uh, let's say hypothetically, let's say your name on either YouTube or TikTok was Big Bird 57, right? And I brought you into the Discord server as Big Bird 57 as a mod, right? And then let's say 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks go by, and you change your name to Elmo 89, right? And I'm like, okay, who's this guy? And then I hit you up, yeah, what was your original name? Yada yada yada, and I get no sort of response. That puts me into a standpoint where I'm like, okay, did they sell their account? Did they lose access? Because then what happens is when you pop into the stream later and go, hey, I'm Big Bird 87. I lost account. I'm Elmo 87 is actually Big Bird 87. I lost access to the account. I can't verify that. That could be a way of somebody just trying to get into the Discord to spy or be able to just know what we're talking about or clickbait, which a lot of people do, which I understand even in podcasting, you get clipped. People clip what you say, but in the Discord, I try to keep it very, we all know each other type thing. It's not a billion something people. I think we're up to like maybe like 12 or 13 people. We keep it very tight, and yeah. But I wanted to at least put that out there for anybody to understand that we are, I think there's spaces available on TikTok. There's spaces available on YouTube. Also, when it comes to Discord, you do not have to be a mod to get into Discord. I think a lot of people may have gotten that confused there. You do not have to be a mod to get into Discord. You do have to be a member on both platforms, meaning you have to follow the TikTok channel. I don't mean subscribe wise. If you choose to subscribe, cool, but you do not have to pay to subscribe on TikTok. You just have to follow the brand there. I mean, the empire there, right? And then on YouTube, you do not have to pay as well, even when the time does come for that. You do not have to pay there, but you do have to join the community there as well. And you have to keep both current. Okay. Now, with both of those being current, once you do that, notify me. I will, because the server is private. It's not listed, and it's not joinable without authorization from myself or mods, right? So if you like what you heard and you go on over to TikTok and you join the community over there and you go on to YouTube and let's say you hit the subscribe button here, let me know. I will send you an invite from the server. There are rules that are more than 20 deep. Okay. I advise reading through them. I'm not saying you have to uh uh um I don't want to say you don't have to read them all, but I would advise read them all so that way you don't do anything to get yourself kicked out or whatever. But basically, once you read them all and you agree to the terms and answer the questions and stuff, you're more than willing to be invited into the server. You will start off as a member, and then after a period of time goes past, you will be made a full member. There are different things that you can do as a member and a full member. Um, there's plenty of room in there. Like you're talking like anime rooms, play gaming rooms, sports rooms, baseball, basketball, wrestling, anime, arts and entertainment, gaming, looking for other people to game with, just general chit chat. The only thing that's locked off is mods and mod locations for mods. But yeah, I just wanted to at least explain all that so that way anybody that comes back to the podcast later today or sees it, listed on the website, that was curious, they can listen to it and understand what's going on. But I have kept you here long enough. It is about 6:30 on my end over here on a Sunday. I'm pretty sure everybody, whether you have school or whether you have work or whether you have just your day off, enjoy the good start to your week that I hope you have. At the same time, Just to make you aware, game streams are available on TikTok live exclusively, meaning Monday through Friday. Um, Typically, it's variety. There's going to be a message and stuff that you'll see put out today that advertise that there's going to be more variety going forward. Um, Will they be the same game every day? Some days, yeah. Some days there'll be a game where it's like I know college football came out. I played a full season, and now I'm at the point where I'm bringing a variety back a little bit more. I know when Madden comes out, there'll be at least I think Madden for me because I'm an MVP member. Madden comes out August 6th, I think. I should be free around say 6:37 to be able to put out some sort of content with that, so that way you don't have to rely on other content creators. um the next day I would look to get up and kind of start, depending on what happens there, because like, don't get me wrong, it is very weird, and my day-to-day schedule sometimes, things pop up, married man and brother and cousin and son and things like that, so things happen, right? But I know on August 6th, at bare minimum, I want to put in at least an hour or two in that new Madden just to kind of kick it over and see how it feels. How I plan on going about it, I am still a little curious about that. I wanted to bring back the aspect of created players for my mods only, but a lot of my mods have kind of, more so explain the fact that it seems like they'll have the game themselves, so they're wouldn't really be involved in that way. Um, but I may still bring in some of the mods that I know want in. Like I know there's the Novocaine Bells, the Joe Bento Lifes, myself. Thinking position wise, uh, it's different, because I think that I know I want to play with my Philadelphia 76ers. Excuse me, thinking about the Sixers. I know I want to play with my Philadelphia Eagles, but I also kind of want to run a Hawaii team. And the difference about it is with that is the fact that I don't want to have multiple franchises because I know how that can get confusing in previous years. Where you have like a Philadelphia Eagles franchise and you have a Hawaii franchise and you got to kind of, keep them current and stuff. Even though there are certain positions that are already chosen for players on the Philadelphia Eagles, like I normally play quarterback, right? Um, I probably wouldn't do that because I would basically have to trade. It's like one of those things where this is my team that I love, that I grew up loving as a kid. So I'm not looking to replace any of the guys we have. There are key positions that are still available, like take on offense. Uh, yeah. There's center. There's also fullback that is not really used like that a lot of times. There's center, fullback, and right tackle that are interesting to me. No, I'm nothing against Cam Jurgens, but I would definitely take his position. Big Lane paved the Lane Johnson, who I feel has been the best right tackle in the business for the past 5 to 10 years, is if not longer, is one of the best right tackles to ever do it. Hall of Fame, definitely. He's getting ready to retire, so I could always be the new right tackle. We don't currently have a fullback as far as I know. Well, I know we do, but there's no like elite, Mike Allstott type fullback on the Eagles, and that might be very helpful to somebody like Saquon Barkley, having somebody that can clear the lane and sometimes, take a run and kind of knock the defense off there. Um, Tight end wise, I was thinking about putting more Novocaine Bell there as tight end, which I normally do. Dallas Goedert is very good, but Dallas is also starting to come up in age where we're gonna have to kind of like revamp that position. So putting him there would help that. Um, Glad that we are over this whole AJ Brown problem or whatever. But Smitty, whether not whether, but with him being number one and Makai Lemon, depending on what rating they give him, being a wide receiver, I was thinking about putting a Joe Bento's Life at wide receiver number two, or possibly moving because Makai Lemon, from what I can tell, they're saying is more of a slot guy. So nothing against Hollywood Brown and the rest, but I was thinking, maybe Joe Bento Life at wide receiver 2, Novocaine Bell at tight end, and myself at either center, fullback, or right tackle, right? Just to give the positions to the people that I know want positions. On defense wise, once again, I normally play defensive tackle all the time, but I think with with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis really stepping up the way they have, and things like that, I don't want to take away from their development. Like I don't want to, start over top of them, especially with this whole storyline thing that's going on, where like if you piss a player off, they can ask to be traded type thing. I really don't want to mess my franchise up. So I mean, I know I want what do you call it there? I know I want uh 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 my I know the positions that are open that could be paid attention to are left edge. Nothing against Nolan Smith, but we could really step up there. Depend because I don't know how he's going to be this year, but he's really good. But you could step up there and get a 2-man rotation there. Sam linebacker, who is Jeremiah Trotter. I don't know which rating they're going to give him this year, but I know last year he was like a normal and he was only like 70 something. So that position could be upgraded there. So you have like left edge and linebacker. So that could be either me at left edge or I'm thinking maybe myself at left edge because I like playing the line. I don't really like playing the whole linebacker standpoint because I feel like if you hit the hole the wrong way as a linebacker, user control, you can really like just lose a game because like take I'm trying to think of a running back. Take I think the guy Breece Hall from the Jets, right? He's very shifty. Or no, the guy from the Lions, or the guy from the Jets, or the guy from the Seahawks. If you hit the hole and you hit it right and he goes left, it's over. He's gone. It's a wrap, right? Whereas like if I'm on the line and Grenard's to the left, Carter's beside him, and Davis is beside him, and I'm on the right, I can focus on that one position. I can like, as I normally play defensive tackle, but I can adjust to coming off the side and then maybe put, say, Novocaine Bell at, say, Sam linebacker, so that way, he holds down that position so we don't have to trade for it. And then I was thinking Joe Bento at, say, possibly safety, because, I mean, I think that Tariq Woolen, I'm going to re-sign him, and I hope he does get re-signed in real life too with us. But you already have Quinyon Mitchell, who's one of the baddest cornerbacks in the NFL right now, hands down, nobody debates that. And then you have Tariq Woolen, who's proven to be a good cornerback. And you already got Cooper at safety. So the only real question is Makuba at safety. And, I could put Joe Bento Life back there. And now I have myself and 2 mods in without having to force all the mods to jump in on other teams, but leaving it open for them. Something like Hawaii is tempting because if you were to move, say if you were to move because I was thinking about moving Miami, right? Like the Dolphins, because to be honest, let's be real here, Dolphins ain't winning nothing this year. Nothing against them, but the Dolphins ain't winning nothing this year. Neither is Arizona. But I think if you were to move like a Miami or Arizona to Hawaii, you would have way more freedom in a sense. Like I could play quarterback because they don't have a quarterback. I could play quarterback and defensive tackle, which are my favorite 2 positions to play. I could put Novocaine Bell at left edge. I could go get somebody like Max Crosby to play the other side. I wouldn't rely on a lot of Eagles because I feel like it would create the same position over again. We could really do what we want to do with that if I was to move, say, Miami or Arizona to Hawaii and then kind of create a team. But I know that there's a very big what do you call it there? There's a very big entrance thing that they have going on in this Madden now, where it's like the what you call it? Where it's like lasers and sound effects and all that. So I don't know. Today is what, the 26th. So give me a couple more days, and I'll figure it out. I'll spend some more time maybe today looking up what do you call it? Looking up teams to see how that's gonna work there with the relocation teams. Maybe there's some information that's been put out or whatever, but it's interesting because also to be honest, there's pros and cons to both of them because, in a sense, I'm an Eagles fan, but you may not be an Eagles fan, you know, and asking somebody to constantly watch the Eagles sometimes can, be a lot. It's fun for me, because I'm playing with the Eagles, but it may not be as fun for you. And somewhere like a Miami moving to Hawaii and being its own Hawaii team would be pretty fun because it's kind of like we could take over the league in our own way because there are players that I would want to really give light to. Like I have players outside the Eagles that I like that I would give draft picks up for, like Max Crosby, uh, Marvin Harrison, Starvin Marvin, uh, uh, possibly K9. But then if I have full motion of the team and I'm quarterback, I would probably put Novocaine Bell at tight end. I would probably put Joe Bento at wide receiver to go along with Marvin Harrison, and then look at the halfback position. From defensive perspective, I would definitely play defensive tackle. I would probably put Novocaine Bell at middle linebacker behind me, so that way it's a 1-2 punch where, like, if you get past me, you have to get past him. And then I would definitely put Joe Bento's life at, like, safety, right? And then we could just fill the roster out with other people. So it's interesting. I'm going to do a little bit more time spending time with it. If you have an opinion and you want to see either one, or you feel more popular about either one, feel free to reach out to me on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, wherever I am at the time or whatever. Shoot me a message, let me know. But yeah, I'm going to let you get up out of here. Have a blessed rest of your day. Have a great rest of your day. There will be more content to come on the website, not today. I'm going to take the rest of the day off and stuff like that and just kind of chill, play the game, watch TV, get something to eat, stuff like that. But yes, there will be more articles coming. I want to do a write-up for College Football 27 now that I've done a full year of the NIL money and the whole NIL money and recruiting and all that, and played the full year. I want to put an article right up there because, don't get me wrong, I don't have nothing against other websites that do article write-ups in the first 10 minutes of the game coming out, but I feel like it's one of those like rush things, where it's like you were given a review copy and you played it for 10 minutes and all that. Like, I'm able to actually give like an actual honest opinion of someone that played every single game and every single recruiting week in College Football 27. So I kind of want to put that out. I know I definitely want it out before Madden comes out, so that way we can set that aside, move to Madden, and then after a period of time, give that review or whatever. But yeah, that write up's definitely coming. I know it's the only one I really want to put out there. It's College Football 27. Everything else I've already done, like the Ubisofts, the Divisions, the Xbox World Gala X review, Starfield after 100 something hours, things like that. I've already Game Pass. I've already done those. So I want to get a little bit more reviews out there. That's what's coming for the website. Also, look for possibly today. I don't know. Maybe today. Maybe tomorrow. I will be adding this podcast and the previous episode back to the website under its own banner. And I will be adding some gameplay in there, so the channel will mix it up and be also not just write-ups anymore. It will be write-ups, podcast, and gameplay. If it's not done today, it will be done this week. But this podcast will be available, as you can tell now, on YouTube, so you can go back and watch whenever you want to. But as far as being added to the website and the gameplay being added to the website, that'll be sometime this week, 9 times out of 10. But yeah, have a good rest of your day. Stay blessed, stay safe, keep gaming, stay positive, stay safe out there, stay as positive as you can, and I will talk to you in the next one. And remember, this is the SRP. Hold on one second. All right. Yeah, as I was saying, yeah, I'm gonna be wrapping this up here. You have a good rest of your night. Stay blessed, stay safe, stay positive. I will talk to you in the next one. And remember, this is SR51 Media Empire, where you never know what's behind the next load screen. Peace. Talk to you in the next one.